Well, Fred ain't here, so guys, let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talking, they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit, that's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in, here gonna the show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
What is up, BSers? Hope everybody's doing good tonight. It is a lovely week in Birdland.
It's a glorious playoff week.
It is. And you are not Fred, sir.
No, I know. It's a freaky Tuesday, so Freaky Friday.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But Fred is not here this evening. But I'm sure he's going to be chiming in the chat room. I am sure of that. So we've got a great show for you guys. We got James over there on the producer desk tonight. Say hi, James.
What's up, guys?
All right. So let's jump straight into this. This week, it's been crazy. To quote Ravens broadcaster Jerry Sandusky, the hay is in the barn and the Ravens are in the playoffs, baby. It is exciting times right now, especially considering where we were in the middle of the season. We're going to get into that here in a little bit, but really exciting to see. And it's time now. It's time for the rematch of last year as the Ravens look to take a revenge. See what I did there?
Yeah, classic dad jokes.
Dad jokes, right? As they look to take revenge on the Titans. And then we got pot shots, hurdles, and cans in this week rundown. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be some fun times.
But before we get started, guys, we want to make sure we give our sponsor a shout out. Injured at work or in an auto accident and not sure who to call? 855-MD-CRASH are the Maryland personal injury attorneys that have your back. If you find yourself in that unfortunate situation, and I know I have, give our team at MD Crash a call right away. We all know that the cost of medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering can all add up quickly and potentially put you in a real bad financial situation. If you want a team to handle your case, big or small, and give you a peace of mind, save this number now. It's 855-MD-CRASH. That's 855-632-7274. And be sure to follow them on Facebook for some giveaways that usually are into some local restaurants. All right, guys. Before we really get started, I do want to acknowledge Fred. Those of you who are constant viewers of the show know that Fred is usually to my right, and we actually didn't change his handle there for Drew because you're just hashtag Drew at this point.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, you're just hashtag
right.
Drew.
If I was on Twitter, I'd try to take it over.
But no. It's still Fred. But Fred had a unfortunate passing in his family, his grandmother. But he wishes he could be here, but it's more important for him to be with his family right now. So I do want to say cheers and thoughts and prayers are with him and his family in their loss. So make sure you guys, if you're friends with Fred, make sure that you reach out and give him your condolences. And he appreciates it from Birdland BS Nation for sure. Thanks, guys. All right. So let's get into some flock talk. We are 11-5. That's right. As the title says below, we went from 6-5, the middle of the season, to 11-5. We won out.
And it was so hard. Like when it was that after that Steelers game, it was real hard to say, they're going back to the playoffs.
It
so it feels even sweeter.
Yeah, it was a tough one to excuse me. The shot's getting to me already. It's one of those things that when you look back and you say where we were in 6-5, we had some serious question marks.
Yeah.
We that's where around, where we started seeing some of the snaps with Matt Skura having some issues. The COVID was really kind of starting to hit us at that point. So there was a lot going on. There was a lot to be worried about. And they really put it together. They came back and put it together to win 5 straight games and win out. That's exactly what this team needed to do, and it got them to the playoffs. This game here, we're the 5th seed in the AFC playoffs, and obviously that Bengals score, 38-3. Wow.
There's nothing else to say but wow.
I mean, I don't think you can. We're going to get into our predictions later, but I think it was you. I think you predicted that game the closest, but you were still off by like 5 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah, it was still off.
It was still off, but nobody really had it that bad. Overall, we outscored the Bengals 65-6 this season. So we limited the Bengals twice to only 3 points in 2 games. It's just great to hear. There's some things that we got to talk about that happened prior to the game, right? So prior to the game, defensive tackle Mike Daniels for the Bengals tested positive for COVID. That was on Friday. So he was out. What little bit of defense the Bengals had kind of goes out the window when your starting defensive tackle's not there.
Yeah, when your main run stopper is we might have got like 275, 310 when he was in, but not 407.
Yeah, no. And then the other big news was Sam Cook test positive. And at first it was, it's inconclusive. And we've heard that before.
Yes.
Luckily, yeah, right. Luckily, this happened early enough in the week that they were able to retest him quickly and determine that, in fact, it was a positive. So he missed the game, which ended his consecutive game streak at 239 games.
It's impressive, punter or not. You still got to go out there. I mean, you still have big grown men jumping at you trying to block the ball, and you get hit every now and then. It's easy to have a stray ACL for a punter here and there, and to have a streak like that, you should still be impressed.
Yeah, it's nice to see, and it's sad to see for them. The Wolfpack has always been that cohesive unit that you never had to really worry about. Even the times that Tucker has missed, it was never really a true conversation of, is it time? We've never had that conversation. But so what do? They go out and they sign Johnny Townsend to punt and hold kicks. And you're the one that brought up this point, right? If an outbreak happens to the Ravens, which it did, it's kind of good to happen earlier.
Yeah, I'm not saying, look, we don't take COVID lightly.
No.
It's not a joke in any way. But I did point out, you got it in week 12. It hit, I'm lost the track of how many players, but it took out the majority of the team.
I think we had a total of almost 22 players at one point.
Yeah. But now you're seeing in situations with the Browns where now that you've had these outbreaks in this last couple weeks, where now it's and some of these other teams that might not have had it, like a Green Bay, who might have avoided it so long, they have an issue. Well, we haven't had, and we got that issue out of the way.
You got it out of the way.
Quick,
right, yeah.
In the most nicest way possible. It's an extra thing where if you're not having to worry about your players being out because of COVID, because they're not hurt, then kind of a relief to know that you're not going to have that much of an issue.
You're basically to your point, you're walking into the playoffs for all intents and purposes healthy.
Yeah.
Right. You don't necessarily. You're not worried about your star quarterback getting COVID. I mean, I guess he could technically get it again.
Yeah. Knock
on wood.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know that it's the worry right now. We haven't really seen that yet in the NFL, or really, it's been debated across the country. But there's back and forth. So I think you make a great point in that it's good that they got out of the way. They're going into the playoffs healthy. How are you going to handle if an entire core is taken out, right, in the playoffs? If an entire team's wide receiving core is taken out for a playoff game, how do you handle that? And I think we're going to see the Browns this week with their, basically their coaching staff, their head coach and two, I think it was the offensive coordinator.
They pretty much almost exactly what happened with the Detroit Lions for week 16?
16, yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see really what happens. But to kind of get into the game that we saw this past week, one thing that was nice to actually see, and I know you were chomping at the bit to talk about this. That's a Ray Rice jersey, my friend.
No, it's not a Ray Rice jersey. It's from the Ray Rice era. It's the Nickerson is on the back. And it was literally I've had it for so long. It had to have been right before Ray Rice got drafted. So look, it's my favorite number, and look, I'm wearing it tonight.
Yeah,
in honor of my boy J.K. Dobbins.
All right, well, I mean, JK can give the credit to Greg Roman because in this game, he does what we have been saying for how many weeks now, guys?
Give him the ball.
Run the damn ball. Ravens football, right?
Just stick to it, yeah.
And what happens when they do it?
400 yards.
We dominate. We absolutely dominate. How could it blows my mind. And you had to hope that somebody in there went, see, Greg, this is what happens when you play to our strengths and not try and get cute and fancy with shit.
And I'll admit that was always my worry too over the last couple of weeks where you started seeing him integrated more was, all right, but when do they put Mark Ingram back in? Does he get his shot in week 17? So kind of when he was active, I was kind of like, all right, if this is the game to keep him active, get him active, get him touches again. I kind of get that because anything can happen in the playoffs. Well, but it did make me worry about now that we'll see how the game plan goes when your 3 running backs are active again.
Yeah, and that was the thing in this game. So obviously he's active towards the end of the game. He does come in, given which is what they should have done, giving JK a rest, giving Gus a little bit more of a rest. It was nice to see because we've been calling for that for weeks. But I think to your point, going into next week, we're going to have to wait and see what is the game plan.
Yeah.
If we see Mark Ingram trotted out there for the first drive, I'm not going to be happy. I'll be honest.
I'll probably already start doubting a little bit.
I mean,
we're worried. I wouldn't say doubt. Worry is the proper word for it.
But I think you start having doubt in Greg Roman, and is this really, what we should be doing? Is he really the right guy? But look, we talk about the overall. You said 404. That was on 54 attempts, so way overload on the run game this week. And then with that, we set a team's single game record 16 shy of the NFL record. So it's a franchise record, but it's 16 yards shy of an NFL record for 420 yards.
And it's probably because you kind of pulled guys. Because you were so far ahead, you had to pull all of the main players out.
If you don't go trotting Ingram out there and handing him the ball, can Gus and JK do it?
There was a couple times, too, where it's like we get the third and longish or whatever, and Huntley kind of looked like he was a little bit deer in the headlights for than his other appearance. And I think maybe if he would have just gone and just jetted off for runs like we see from Lamar, we might have had the record, but well. I
mean, let's talk, we're talking about JK. He's just in this game. He wasn't playing around, baby.
No. I mean, even before the long run, it was still those big, not just him, but it seemed like every time anyone carried the ball, it was 5 yards or more. It wasn't like, all right, the line of scrimmage and 1, 2. It seemed like every time someone got going, there was a push and they got going.
And I think, obviously you're looking at JK with that. JK, 13 carries, 160 yards, averaging, to your point, it seemed like they were chunking, getting large amounts of yards. He averaged 12.3 yards with 2 TDs and that 72-yard run, which was beautiful the way he found that hole, by the way. And that little cutout to the outside, boom, he was gone. And did you see the interview with him?
I can't remember if I did or not.
They talked to him about afterwards, and he's like, I want to show what I can do. He's like, and I got to that sideline. I said, I ain't going to get caught.
Yeah,
I ain't going to get caught.
Yeah.
They were like, you have another speed there.
Yeah. And
I think that's something we've kind of thought would be there all along.
Yeah.
Were you surprised to see him go off like this in this game?
No, not really. Just because if you're going to take a guy in the second with your second round pick, when it happened, you're like, you didn't really, you don't need running back because you're setting the team record.
Right.
And this, that, and the other. And he was kind of confused by that. And then it was like, all year long, I think it was my big thing. I'm probably sure I've beaten like a drum at this point. But if we had the thing later early on where we would like to see what would happen if you had Hayden Hurst here. All right, well, you traded Hayden Hurst for basically this guy. Use him.
Right.
And it was like the last Cincy game. The first carry he had, it was 34 yards, and he was done.
Right, yeah.
And you were playing cute the rest of the time.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing, is that's the frustrating part, is that they've gotten away from that. But in this game, again, they didn't. JK, when he got the ball, he was showing what he could do. Gus, 12 carries for 60 yards, averaging 5 yards. Hey, keep feeding these two guys the ball. Why do we even think about throwing the ball? If they can't stop them, just keep running it. And that's what we did in this game for the most part. Lamar was the other guy in this game. Going into this game, I don't know if you saw, but Lamar needed like 92 yards. He had 100. I think he had 908, and he needed 92 yards to become the first QB in NFL history with 1,000 yards twice in his career. Twice in his career, not twice in his first 2.5 years.
Back. Yeah, I wouldn't even have been disappointed if it was like 970. That's still pretty damn impressive to have like a 900-yard season for a quarterback.
But he leads the team in rushing yards this year yet again, and we still have I think it was three guys total that were over 700 yards on the season. It just goes to show you when we do what we need to do, we can make it work and make it just drive.
James,
real quick, we forgot that Lamar is also the youngest quarterback to get 30 wins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it all plays into what he's been able to do. And in this game, you said he goes back-to-back, and he does, because in this game, he gets 97 yards on 11 carries, gave him 1,005 on the season. Great to see. But we also see him go 10 for 18 through the air, 113 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception on a tip pass, which was a questionable throw. Maybe he shouldn't have thrown it.
Yeah, because the play before was almost kind of carbon copy.
It was a batted
same
pass,
player too. Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things that has been a knock when he's looking. His eyes are can sometimes
be
easily
especially
read.
that middle of the field, like we always criticize. It seems like when you're going for the middle of the field, you're definitely like dialed in.
Yeah, you're figuring out where you're going to go, who you're going to go to, but it's literally here. You kind of get focused in, and maybe that's what's happening. I don't know, but he still does all this, and he does all this before being pulled late in the third quarter.
Like, 3 minutes left?
Yeah.
Because once the Dobbins, because you were like, he was out and you saw them, they were still kind of throwing out like the Dobbins.
Right.
And then he runs off the 72-yarder and you're like, all right, well, everyone's coming out then at that point.
Yeah,
that was it.
Why would you not at that point? It's going to take a miracle for them to come back that much at that point.
Risking it.
So I think it was great. It was also was great to see Tyler Huntley get back out there. I know he didn't run a whole lot of play. I mean, he ran some. He had a few drives there, but it was nice to see him get some reps.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all agreed that he's a guy. He's going to be your backup going into the playoffs.
Yeah. There's no help.
You got nobody else. You know that RG3's out. You know McSorley's out. So I don't see RG3 coming back. And if he does, I don't think he should be ahead of Huntley.
No, because even if you have worries of whether Huntley can pull off leading a team, when your quarterback goes down, any team's gonna have an issue when your starting quarterback goes down anyway.
My thought though is that Huntley is way more plug and play.
Exactly, it's more to what. You would have to change a lot.
Right. The scheming stays the same. You don't have to change much. Even with RG3, even though he is, I'm going to put this in quotes because I don't think this is the case anymore, but mobile quarterback. I hate that anymore. He's just not anymore. So you look at that and you say, it's just not the case. And that's really what it comes down to. But let's talk about the passing, right? Because I just mentioned that. He had 3 TDs in this game. Marquise Brown.
I have a new nickname for him.
What is it?
I want to know if you guys like it. There's no more Hollywood. Did I text that? I don't know if I text that on Sunday. He's no longer Hollywood for me. He's the Riddler. Because
I think I remember seeing that.
A complete enigma. You don't know if he's going to catch the ball. You don't know if he's going to catch the ball, and even though you could see a lane where he could keep running, you don't know if he's going to just drop and be afraid of the hit. You don't know if he's going to catch a 4th down and 5 when you need to catch a touchdown to win the game and scamper off for 40 yards.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is in this game there was a big what appeared at the time to be a big drop early in the game, and you're like, here we go again, right? But then he has 2 of the TD catches, and they were perfectly timed on his end to go down and get it, to go up and get it. Exactly what you want to see. 5 reception, 41 yards, 2 TDs. He's clutch when you need him to be. But the question marks, at some point, that's going to start to bite you. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's afraid to get hit as he's catching the ball. It always seems to be over the middle of the field. When he's on the outside, he seems to do much better. And I think that's maybe because he knows he can get to the sideline and not have to take a hit. But it's frustrating as hell. You're calling him the Riddler. I call him Up and Down Brown.
That works too. I like that. The rhyme.
I just don't know what else to call him because that's what he is. He has up and downs in every game.
Yeah.
He's not a number one. The up and down type game is typical of a number 2, number 3 wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, because you have those like 4 or 5 amazing games, and it's okay if you disappear every now and then because you still have that threat, but you still have a number 1 guy that's the go-to, the high point guy,
right?
The throw it up and get him guy. Then we'll find out what they do in the offseason at that position.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily have that, but one thing that was really interesting. So in our background here, over behind you, the other guy that had the touchdown, Miles Boykin.
That was amazing on both parts. That was a perfect throw. Like, only your wide receiver's going to catch it. Just does he come down. And look, and now granted, it's less opportunities in Hollywood or the Riddler or up and down.
Up and down Brown.
It's less opportunities than Brown, but that was a guy that we said early on when he was having issues. It was like, you're done. We're going to come with a new position. I mean, that still remains to be seen if he can be a go-to threat. But to see him at least, even if it's a sporadic target here and there, it's not like I'm not interested in being in the game. Like, he's still in the game. The ball's coming to him, and he's catching it because that was a great throw and it was a great catch. It
was perfect timing. It was over the shoulder. You know, it was a dime for all intents and purposes. Yeah. And I'm going to bring Craig Zero says we were talking about Hollywood. He said true, but he needs that fear of getting hit out of his system. And I agree, and I think the guy that we're seeing in the background here can help. And that is, I think you need Dez Bryant. Obviously, I think Dez Bryant, we have seen a change, a clear change, in my opinion, and a shift in Miles Boykin since Dez Bryant has come on.
Yeah, I keep hearing that. I don't know. You're right. I don't really know.
What else do you attribute it to? No, Dez Bryant comes on, he all of a sudden starts catching the ball.
I guess that's my point. It's like, I don't know what he's doing, but you're right. Ever since he's got here, like, even though it's not like your true number 1 target type shit, like I said, when he gets the opportunity and the ball's coming his way, Boykin comes down with it.
Yeah.
It's not like, fumbles and too big for the moment. Like, he's there, and it comes down to Dez being here.
Which also, once we sign Dez, when Dez gets the opportunity, he takes advantage of almost every throw he gets.
Yeah.
So it goes to show you that it's there. And I know, obviously, these guys are 2 different sizes, but Dez needs to be able to also lead that wide receiver room. You know, Willie Snead is there, but and Willie Snead, I think, honestly, should have been the perfect guy to pair with Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
They're not the same size, but similar size with Snead. He started a little bit smaller. He put on the weight. He bulked up. He was physical down there in New Orleans. He was catching balls from arguably one of the best quarterbacks in history. And I think that should have played. Now, did it not play because Hollywood wasn't accepting? Did it not play because Snead wasn't taking that role? Everything we were hearing was Snead was leading that wide receiver room.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like he was truly leading it in a way that was helping all those guys. I don't know, but I expect Dez Bryant and Willie Snead to maybe do a combo, step up, and really give the playoff experience to some of these guys and say, look, because this is a young wide receiver core.
Yeah.
Snead goes down and Bryant goes down, you literally have no experience out there.
Yeah, none, because, then, like, the next guy up's Duvernay, and he's a rookie.
Right. And then if Prochet's healthy, he's behind him,
and he's a rookie.
Right. So at that point, you're looking at 4 guys that have been in the league for less than 2 years, if that were to happen. So I think we really need to see them step up. I think you see that. You're starting to see that with Boykin. I think you start to see it with the rest of this team. You see Dez, like, on the sidelines. Anytime they show the sidelines and he's there, he seems to be talking to these guys, which I love. He's giving the experience. And then that we saw it in the 2 weeks ago, the relationship that him and Harbaugh seem to have, and the respect that Harbaugh has for Dez as a player, and the respect that Dez has for Harbaugh for giving him this second chance because he knew he could make an opportunity.
Yeah, it seems like you've gotten those sound bites over really the course of the season. You've seen those sound bites where the on the mic, the on the field mics have caught Harbaugh bringing a guy in off the field, and a guy comes in.
He talked to JK.
JK, you would have thought, what? And now, granted, you're saying like 8 years ago. 8 years ago, a guy fumbles the ball, and we don't know what Harbaugh is going to do with the guy.
No.
Well, a different team and different way. Everyone you kind of need everyone in the way it is now compared to then. But it's like, it's cool to see that out of Harbaugh, where you see something like happy as hell Dez called a touchdown pass, almost more happier than you would think anybody but Dez would be.
Yeah. We've got Alonzo chiming in and says, need to look at look on Dez's side more. Yeah, and I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Is that's the one thing is he's making the best of the opportunities he's given. But my hope is that they're going back and looking at that game film and seeing how often he's open. You're starting to see the trust develop with Lamar and Dez, right? We've seen 2 touchdowns over the past 3 games. Great in situations, especially the one where Dez comes back to him, is the only guy that can get back to him and makes the play on a maybe not the greatest throw, but it works.
Yeah, and that's the other great thing about what you've seen out of the whole wide receiving core is when he's running around in the backfield, guys aren't just sitting there anymore. I don't know if Dez had anything to do with that too. Yeah, that's because you've seen that a lot out of him. Like his touchdown passes that he has called, it's because he got stuck and he got to an open spot before anybody else could get there and threw it to him.
And I think Nick brings up a good point, and it's maybe not the exact comparison, but he says Dez needs to be the next Anquan Bolden for us in the playoffs. And I think that kind of comes to the point of Bolden when he was there, he was a little bit more of a leader. He would go get the ball. He's showing what they can really do, and it just happens to be that it works out for what's going on. We appreciate you guys tuning in. I see a bunch of people chiming in. And saying thanks. What's up, Dominic? There was one other one here that I wanted to talk about. So Rick says, I don't understand why DBs play so far off receivers, leaving them wide open all the time. Even though we're winning games, defenses are giving up a lot of yards, and we can't do that with Tennessee. So I'm glad you kind of got into that, because that's going to get us into everything when it comes to this defensive front for us. This game, Marcus Peters was back and healthy. Right? Jimmy Smith potentially maybe could be back for this game. We'll see. It's still yet to be. He's still questionable.
I think a lot of these. I do really honestly think a lot of these guys that have been held out. And granted, we know our history. We know of Jimmy Smith. I really do think a lot of that was making up for it here and there. And you know what I mean? Like it was a softer schedule. Yeah. If you're going to give a guy like him some rest and still make the playoffs. You're hoping he would. I mean, it still remains to be seen. Anything can happen. Sunday, we could find out.
I mean, I tell you what, he better be playing in this game. You just signed him to a 1-year, $5 million extension.
Well, that too. At this point, it's a cliche for anybody in the playoffs. It's the playoffs. All bets are off now.
Yeah.
Like I don't want you to. I mean, you're a little bit hurt. Time to,
suck it up, Buttercup.
Suck it up and get over it, because it's time to go win yourself a champion, especially him. That can do wonders, especially for somebody like him. Yeah, you've won the title early on in your career.
Yeah.
But you win a second one and you play another couple years, that helps your resume for, I'm not saying he'd be a Hall of Famer, but just when you look back, even just in our Ravens bubble, when you look back, if he were to win another title, it makes you jump him up on the list of top defensive guys that have come into the system.
I think he becomes up there a little bit. I don't know that he's up there, in Ring of Honor talks or scenarios, because there's been too many injuries. There's been too much off the field issues with him as far as that stuff's concerned. So I don't know that I can make that joke. I do agree that it bumps his level up as far as his what he's been able to bring to the table. Yeah. We've always said this defense struggles when Jimmy Smith is not on the field, and we see it. Yeah. Yes, and I think that's kind of the point that you were just talking about, was that these guys play off because you don't have a guy like Jimmy Smith that can help with the experience and positioning some of these guys and getting them set and ready to go in the right spot at the right time. Jimmy can bring that value. When he's not on the field, he can't be out there telling these guys this. So should you give him the mic to do the play calls? Maybe Wink should consider it. I mean, it might be helpful. But for me, I look at it and say they did well, right? They hold Brandon Allen 6 for 21 for 48 yards, 2 interceptions, and a 0 quarterback rating. Let me repeat that. They held him to a 0 quarterback rating. So I get what you were saying, Rick, but you held the guy to a 0 quarterback rating. I don't care how bad they looked. This was our a lot of second string and some third string guys out there, and they held a professional quarterback to a 0 rating.
We were talking about it before the show, and I'm sure we can take this into a segue too. It also seemed like, look, you had 8 of 11 drives end in 3 and out or less, and you could tell that it was more a scheme of relying on the secondary because this guy is not an NFL quarterback. So there's no point. I mean, comparing anything to what they were doing against the Bengals to what they're going to bring into Tennessee to me is not really exactly what's going to happen.
I think the thing that's bigger, right? It's even bigger picture in this game is this is a guy that just put up 371 yards against the Texans.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not a guy that's like, I say professional quarterback because if he's not a professional quarterback, we see what happens when in Denver, when a guy who's not a professional quarterback plays quarterback, he gets killed. It's one of those things that you hold this guy of what the numbers that he put up last week, and you held him, and you held the team to 195 total yards. Right? So you stopped the run game. You didn't let him get down the field. Your secondary was able to stop and have, good coverage. I'm sure some of them were bad throws, but even the 6 receptions was 48 yards.
And you noticed a real big difference too with the team once the T. Higgins injury happened.
Oh yeah,
it's like it's obvious that he's the biggest threat because, I mean,
that's half of the 48 yards right there.
I think right now I think their best receiver is Boyd, but it was like you knew to neutralize him, especially once Higgins was out.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I don't know if it's just age or talent leaving him, or I'm done with this Bengals bullshit. But it didn't look like AJ Green was very into the game of being in there because he had him on one, and it was just like he didn't look interested.
For a guy that's ripped our defense to shreds for the past 2 years,
and that's nothing in both games. Correct? I'm pretty sure.
Did he get held in the first game?
I don't.
He may have been held in the first game. We'll have to go back and check that out. But look, all this, Marlon obviously we said was healthy, but you have no Yannick, Yannick Ngakoue. You have no Jimmy Smith there. They do expect them to both be ready for the wildcard game, but both of these guys aren't out there, and we saw the impact last week that Yannick brings. Right? When he is on point, he was in the quarterback's face all game long. You can't plan against him and Judon and Calais. It just doesn't happen. It can't happen.
Yeah, you got Metabike stepping up and the Brandon Williams threat. I know he's a run stopper, but when everyone's cohesive, you could tell that they're going to be a force. And you're just hoping that that's what they can get to going into this week.
Well, one thing that was interesting, prior to the game was they go out and they sign former Lions safety Jaron Kearse. Nice late season addition here. And we need some depth. We know we need some depth in that secondary. We've been struggling with good depth. So let's look at him as a whole, right? He's 6'4", 205. And I think he's going to be able to play a little bit more strong safety and catch some of those tight ends coming over the middle. Right?
I mean, you're going against a decent one in Jonnu Smith this week.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what you need. You need a guy who can keep up with some of these tight ends across the middle. But if you need him to go and cover deep, he can do that.
Yeah.
Right? The Lions, they're cut ties with him because it's the fucking Lions. It's like
at that point of the season, they're probably one of those random contract loopholes where like, well, if he's on the roster after week 17, he gets $100,000 or something.
Yeah, right.
Asinine.
So the other big thing that I think we got to just kind of overall talk about is the fact that the past few weeks has been rough off the field with injuries, but also on the field.
Yeah.
Right. It seemed like everything was just piling up. These guys are down, and then all of a sudden his backup goes down, and his backup goes down, and there was just this worry, right? Marlon Humphrey 2 weeks ago, we were worried about him because he looked injured the game before at the end of the game. And the second game he comes back, looks better this game. We came away from this game healthy, and some of our key cogs looked pretty good.
Yeah, and some of those key cogs were even on a pitch count, and they still look pretty damn good.
Right. Yeah, well, you were talking about that before the show. What did you notice? Like, you were talking about some of the guys you feel like are on that pitch count.
It seemed like, I think you already see it in Calais. Calais has kind of been on that pitch count because even when, I guess his first real game back was a Dallas game, was that one where he got close to Dalton and couldn't pull it off.
Yeah.
It was, it was real okay, you didn't know how, and you could tell they were treating him that way the last couple of weeks. But it was like Wolf, I think his count was down a good bit. Judon, his count was down a good bit. And even when those guys were playing, they were still super productive. It wasn't just, 27 snaps of just being out in the field. It was
Right.
like, we're out there doing what we can in those snaps. We're doing the best we can with them. All right, you come on off a little bit because it gives a chance for like a guy like BK to have a chance. You got a lot of depth there if everyone stays healthy.
Yeah.
Pernell McPhee's playing good. Fort and Board, like those guys. Like it's a lot of good depth here if everyone's healthy and they don't make mistakes. This defense can really ratchet it up.
Well, we're gonna get into next week, and we're gonna get into predictions. But one of the things that I've seen over the past few weeks, and I know that we've all kind of talked about this a little bit, but this team they're starting to seem like they're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Right? They seem like they're in the situation, and maybe even better than what the Titans were last year, which gives me hope against the Titans that they come back. They're playing, not only are you playing a revenge game, you can talk about the game this, a few weeks ago being a revenge game because it was the same matchup. Now it's a true revenge game because now more's on the line. Just like it was last year.
Yeah.
There's way more on the line last year. There's way more on the line again this year. And that's where I think the Ravens can come through. And not only that, but the Titans gave you bulletin board material last game. Being out on the logo, like Vrabel and Harbaugh seeming, as much as Harbaugh says, "Oh, we're good," you're not good.
It seemed like it after the game, and I think that was one of those things where Ravens fans, I don't know about anybody else, that felt a lot of bitterness towards your team. You're going to go have that happen, and then you're going to go and cost your, you know what I mean? Like you had that game in hand. That's when you go punch the guy, the guy in the mouth for doing you wrong and disrespecting, and you didn't do it. So now it's even more on the line. Like
now you need to shove it down their fucking throats.
Okay, well, and I hope, and I don't think, because at this point I don't think we're a team that would do it, but I hope no one goes down there and thinks they're going to try to duplicate what they did now. Let's go do what they did to us. Like, just go out there and play the game, get your revenge that way, prove your point that way.
And you know what I'm saying this week? If I'm Harbaugh, if I'm Calais Campbell, Mark Ingram, some of the leaders that we know are in the locker room, I'm getting into every single player's ear, offense and defense. One guy in particular, Marcus Peters, I'm getting in his ear. I'm getting in, Hollywood hasn't been on social media as much recently, but I'm getting into every guy's ear and saying, be focused and don't say a word. You don't show it through the media.
Yeah.
You show it on the field. Yeah. I love that one game that we didn't hear Marcus Peters, and he was just flattening guys left and right. That's the kind of the drive that we need to see out of Marcus.
Yeah.
We need to be able to see this defense finish, get to Tannehill, Brandon Williams stopping Henry all game long. I'd love to see it. That's how you do it, and that's what you're saying. You're saying to these guys, shut up, sit back, get your plays down, and be ready on Sunday.
Because it's not week 10. Not week 11. It's put up or shut up time now. There's no excuses.
It's win or go home.
You guys, between you, Fred, and everybody, you guys give Peter so much shit, but I love the guy. I love a shit talker, and he backs it up, especially when you got that pass interference or rough.
It was pass interference, but
so
I think
pass
it was
interference. He's running, talking to the ref, like, "Hey, this is a bunch of crap. Yeah, you gave away," and then he gets that pick on the next play. Like, I love the guy. I'll take it any day because if we're not gonna have a pass rush, like to the quarterback, we have a guy that can catch the ball on defense. So
I agree with you. My biggest knock on Marcus Peters is he's a game changer in both ways. He's a game changer because of his wrist can wind up hurting us, and his mouth, he doesn't always back it up. We saw it earlier this year. We saw it last year. He wasn't able to back up his mouth. He was writing checks that his ass couldn't cash. And he was saying, "Oh, I'm going to lock down number one receiver." You get burned all fucking game long. That's not what you need to do. You need to shut up and just sit back. I agree with you. I love when he gets that reward, it is so worth it because that was big. It was a big thing to see, especially after that interference call. He comes back and makes it happen. But that's what you need to do. Ryan says he ran the interception 100 yards and threw it into the stands just for show. Surprised he actually didn't get flagged for that, by the way.
I don't know, a prediction would be, I have a feeling Marcus Peters is going to be the reason if we go to the Super Bowl. I think he's going to be one of those when you make a run like that, and I'm not saying it because in response to Jane, like I was kind of already thinking of where I could throw it in. I have a feeling like if we're going to the Super Bowl, I'm not saying it. I guess I'm not only because of Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters is going to ball out in this playoffs. I have a feeling he is. Something just tells me something is going to flip a switch because of what you were saying. That whole in between both of those plays, dude was jawing at the ref where it was to the point where you thought he was going to get a flag. Like, I thought he was going to get a flag, and I'm thinking to myself, shut up, dude. And then he picks it off anyway with one hand. I'm like,
if he had more room, he would have ran it back.
Dude, yeah, if you get that, Marcus Peters.
And that's what I'm saying. He can be a game changer both ways. But it seems like, last year, it seemed like towards the latter half of last year, we were seeing more of that, the good game changer. Earlier this year, we weren't exactly seeing the good game changer. He was getting beat a lot. He was running his mouth some of the game before the game sometimes.
Yeah.
But so that's I like it. I like it to an extent. I get you. I understand what you're saying. But for me, I think there's a lot to be said. And I think, where you think it's Marcus Peters can be that game changer, I think it's Marlon.
And that's why and that's where almost why the number one reason why I want Jimmy Smith to be back healthy and playing.
Let the two of them just do their thing.
Just give Marlon a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of there's a lot of negative plays that Marlon has had where I don't know if he would have had things where you look at a play he made and you scratch his head if it would have been the full complement of everybody back there where it should. Yeah. He is all pro. He is that damn good. I think if it's not just him having to think he's doing too much, which is good to see out of a player. It's better. I'd rather see that than we kind of see out of Peter sometimes. But that's the guy. Like I'm hoping that's why I think if everything comes back healthy, sky's the limit for this team. We already thought that anyway. But
last thing I'm gonna say is I don't disagree with you. I think he is a game changer. I just think he could win us a game, but he can also cost us a game.
No,
he's that type of player.
I think he's going to win us a lot of games in the playoffs.
Go ahead, James.
I was just tired over those years, and we would play off the ball like 10 yards, and they would get that 5-yard pass and then just go. Like, I'm just glad that we're actually playing some physical defense on these wide receivers. That's all.
Yeah, all right. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think there are times they play off a little bit, which I think was Rick's point earlier, but it's still great to see. All right, James, it's time for a social media shout out.
Big social media. I got a lot going on over here.
Who you got?
So we got Chuck Summers, Bleed Purple, Kamar, Steven, Joe, Lunch Break Hunt, Take, Travis, Sherry, Nick, Tony, Alex, Joshua, Craig Zero, Alonzo, Ricky, Ryan, Denny, Dominic, Ken, Mike, Red, White, and Dude, Cheese Muncher, Josh, Foxy 23, Admit, Ray Jax, and Samuel. So it's been a lot. We've been getting a lot of questions. So
any good comments or questions that you saw out there? I know we've been working some of them in.
We're hitting a lot with them. Nick, I bring up AB a lot. Trade AB. Trade Marlon for AB. So it's a good old talk. To start the New Year's off.
We'll have a little bit of AB talk later on, maybe.
Yeah, it's just maybe. Travis, by the way, chiming in says Marcus is weak, not a physical corner, and I have to say I kind of disagree with that. He can be a physical corner. The problem is he plays off a little bit too much. But to your point, that's where he gets some of the pass interference calls that James was referencing because he is a little bit too physical and he's out there, and it becomes a little bit of a problem. So Steve chiming in, he says Marcus is high risk, high reward. Fortunately, his rewards are very nice. Yes. And I agree with that.
And when you have your full complement that you're expecting, it can kind of make up for it sometimes.
Exactly. All right. Let's talk about this game coming up, right? We're not going to quite get into full predictions this week, but let's talk about this game. It's Wildcard weekend. We got Super Wild
weekend.
It's fucking Wildcard weekend.
One game's on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, it's being streamed on Nickelodeon, Amazon, and CBS or something.
I'm watching the Nickelodeon broadcast. Just saying.
Why should it be like a bunch of kids? Like, honestly, like side note here, it'd be genius of them to figure out a way to get like some top streamers
Yeah.
And have that be like you could make that a pay-per-view almost.
Yeah, probably.
Right? And pay the streamers, I'm sure would love it. But no, so Sunday 1 p.m. we're on the road, we're in Tennessee. They're coming off a win 41-38 over the Texans. Right? So their defense with a Texans offense that I mean, this Texans offense has been suspect most of the year.
It's the Texans defense that's been suspect most of the year.
But really, what has their offense have done? Their offense hasn't really done anything.
I haven't seen too many quarterbacks like Watson that have like the cupboards bare and have a terrible defense to play with and still be able to put up like 38 points.
It's true.
And I mean, Christ, if they don't give up a 50-yard bomb to A.J. Brown, which is A.J. Brown's my biggest worry over King Henry in this game.
You think?
Because of shit like that. A 50-yard bomb, and next thing you know, you've broken our psyche or something, and then Henry punches it in from 30 yards out.
I'm worried about that.
I think for me, it's more so I worry about him later in the game. Because last time, both previous 2 times, we've held him early in the game. It's the later in the game stuff. So if they keep it close, he becomes that factor later in the game. If we can get out to an early lead and keep it, that's where I don't necessarily think he's going to come in.
Yeah.
But I just think there's a lot here. Ravens are entering this game as 3.5-point favorites. Let me ask you guys, are either of you surprised the fact that the Ravens were entering 3.5-point favorites here?
I don't like it. I think this game is a trap game. Everybody's excited about playing the Titans. We haven't beaten them, and with Derrick Henry, he beats us up, and then come the third and fourth quarter, he just runs all over us. So I feel like if we run the ball with Dobbins, control the clock, and keep him off the field, like we always talk about the Chiefs keeping Patrick Mahomes off the field. If we could keep Henry off the field, I think we'd be a lot better because when he's on the field and they just run and pound the ball, our guys are taking a beating, and we're just tired at the end.
Yeah, these games are definitely, these are one in the trenches. These are those type of games, and you have to give you guys a chance, and you never want to see it, right? But this is one of those games that you're going like, fantasy's over with. Derrick Henry, I love you, but take him out somehow, right? You're not targeting him or anything like that, but you're like, one of the ways that you take him out is if somehow he's injured
or COVID
or COVID.
Someone said
send the tester that tested Des Bryant there on Sunday. That's all you got to do.
Someone says it's 5 now. Alex said it's 5 now.
It's up to 5 now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was 3.5 points when we looked before, but either way. So this, to me, I was a little bit surprised that they were favored. I think what's playing in their favor, the reason I think it's going that way is because they're hot right now. I think it's one of those things that we look and we see what's happening and we see what's going on. Fred is calling me. Fred, what are you doing, buddy? I don't understand why he might be butt dialing me. We'll see. He's probably wanting me to loop him in here on the call. So give us a minute. And we'll get you in here, Fred. Give me a second. I know he is chomping at the bit. That's why
somebody's feeling hot water.
That's why he's calling. He's chomping at the bit. I tell you right now.
Chair.
This is why it's hot.
If you guys want to talk for a second about this matchup and what you think of it, while I try and get Fred looped in here,
I think my biggest worry would be turning the ball over on your own side of the field. We were talking about before the podcast. You had the INT got that Lamar threw. It was a tip pass. It's not, it's the cleanest of picks is a tip pass, but it was like back-to-back plays. It was a tip pass, and that's all it takes. It could change the momentum of the game. That happened last year in the playoff game. Off of Mark Andrews' hands. Granted, that was an unhealthy Mark Andrews. Maybe High Point's that a lot better if he's not injured. But it was like you turned the ball over a couple times early, and that was when you never recovered. And that's like my biggest worry for the game is just not turning the ball over.
Yeah. All right. So let me see here. I think we got Fred on. Fred, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. We can hear you, buddy. You were chomping at the bit.
Man, appreciate it. Brother, I was watching the show, well, quote unquote, watching the show as I'm driving down the road. Probably shouldn't be watching things while driving. Bad idea.
Put the phone down,
man,
Fred.
I'm too excited, man. It's fucking playoff weekend. The Ravens are back. The Ravens are in, and it couldn't be any sweeter, right? We get this quote-unquote revenge game against the Titans. We've got such a history against this team in the playoffs, and it's kind of funny when you look at the history. The road team has won all of the games in the playoffs against us, so it's kind of cool, and it's just setting up good for us. Like this whole narrative of Lamar can't win the big games, can he win a playoff game, and we're on the road against the Titans. Like everything seems to be set up. It almost seems to be like too perfect. And I think James brings up a great point with Derrick Henry. Obviously, Derrick Henry's the big fear, I think, for everybody, just because of what he's done to us over the last few games, and what he's done to pretty much everybody that he's gone against.
Right.
And I think where we're going to win this game, or where we need to win this game, is in the off-season additions. You went out and got Calais Campbell. You went out and got Derek Wolfe. You went out and got these guys specifically for this game, specifically for this matchup. These guys need to step up and be ready, have their legs about them in the fourth quarter, which is where he really starts to ramp his game up. And if the Ravens can do that, I think the Ravens can win this handedly.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a great point in kind of piggybacking off what James said. I think you have to really struggle. You're going to have to really stop him with the run defense, and really let your secondary step up and shut down A.J. Brown, because you got to give them time to be able to shut him down and let the safeties, do their job, let the cornerbacks do their job. But you also have to make sure that they can help the defensive front and Yannick and Judon and Calais get to Tannehill. If you can disrupt Tannehill and you're stopping Henry, game over.
Right.
So
it's very true.
It's definitely going to be interesting. And Fred, you and I had talked previously about everybody keeps bringing up the 2 losses to the Titans, right? And we all can sit here and say, like, it's justified, right? It truly is justified, but there's a lot that's changed since then. So are you worried about the past, or are you truly looking to the future? It sounds like you're really looking at the future here.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the past. Like I said, this team has been retooled. We didn't have a healthy Calais Campbell then. I'm not saying Calais Campbell is the end-all, be-all, but he is an absolute difference maker in the run game. We didn't have a healthy Brandon Williams in that last game. So we get both of those guys back who are big run stuffers. I think the question mark's going to be the edge setting. You've got last year, you had Jalen Ferguson out there on the edge who struggled. You brought in Yannick, who, yes, he's a great pass rusher, who's kind of questionable as far as an edge setter. So it'll be interesting to see if he's just used in like third down packages and just as a pass rush specialist, and they get some extra help out there with Tyus Bowser more as the edge setter in this game. Because obviously game plan number 1 is stopping Derrick Henry. Game plan number 2 is, to Drew's point, not letting A.J. Brown carry 6 defenders into the fucking end zone. Like, that can't happen again.
Yeah, I mean, last game, he went 150 yards versus the Texans, and the last time we played him, he was a problem, like you said, carrying 6 guys in. In your opinion, what are they going to need to do to actually slow him down and stop him and make him ineffective in this game? By the way, before you answer that, just so you know, our Terps BS Bird is chiming in and says that you should start recording from the car because it's so clear he can hear your turn signal.
Go properly with my hazards on. So thank you for noticing, Ryan. Safety first. No, but I think the key is, and this has kind of been my point really for the second half of this year, since you added Yannick, right? You added Yannick specifically to bolster the pass rush, right? So what you want to do, in my opinion, is you want to get physical with A.J. Brown. Get up on the line, bang him at the line of scrimmage. Don't let him get off the line quick. Bang him at the line of scrimmage. Give your edge rushers and your pass rushers time to get to Tannehill, create disruption, and that's where you're going to create turnovers. Again, to Drew's point, I really think a pissed-off Marcus Peters will play big in the playoffs. This whole boomer bust with Peters is him, being a big playmaker, that kind of thing. I think when the lights are shined the brightest and when there's the most on the line, I think is when we see the best out of Marcus Peters. That's when he's the most engaged. We've talked about it in the past sometimes with him, is like, it almost seems like he's just not engaged, like he's not having fun. But then when he is engaged, he is as elite comes as far as somebody, a playmaker, as that ball hawking playmaking corner. And I think being in this playoff atmosphere, going against a team with some animosity and all that stuff, I think he plays a big role. But stopping A.J. Brown is key, and I think you do that with pressure and being physical.
Yeah, I think you can't – this is a game that you can't try and also, to flip over to the offensive side of the ball. We've been talking all about the defense and stopping A.J. and stopping Derrick Henry, and those are both big things. But the other thing that we also saw last year was getting away from what got the Ravens to the playoffs last year in the first place. We talked about it with Greg Roman ad nauseum at the end of last year. We talked about it this year. We talked earlier tonight about the fact that, it was nice to see them play Ravens football, in your words, and really just dominate. Right? It was so great. Yeah. What I want to see is that same mentality brought into this game. This is not a game that you have Lamar throwing 30 times in the game. It can't be. He needs to be throwing 23 at the max, as far as I'm concerned. You need to let J.K. and Gus Edwards eat in this game and let them show Derrick Henry who?
Yeah, right. I 100% agree. If Lamar has over 30 passes in this game, it's because we lost.
Yeah.
It's because Greg Roman abandoned the game plan, started throwing the ball over the field, got scared because they were down, and we lost the game. You don't want to see that. Lamar's sweet spot is somewhere between 17 and 25 passes, in my opinion. Somewhere in that net, that area, 150 yards, 100 yards on the ground. What we saw, and granted, it was against the Bengals. I understand that. They're the bottom mat of the AFC North. I get that. But again, it's still an NFL opponent. You went out there and beat them 38-3. You did it how this team is designed to do it, by grounding and pounding the ball. You ran for 400-plus yards. What? That's absolutely insane. Like, last year, we didn't have a game of over 400-plus yards rushing. So I'm excited if they can stick to the plan. I think the biggest hurdle for the Ravens is just, like you said, not reverting back to what they've done in the past against the Chiefs and the Titans and kind of abandoning the game plan.
Yeah, and Jimmy chimes in here too and says, if we want to beat the Titans, you get the stops early, but you also have to capitalize on those stops. You can't get the stop and then not capitalize and score. You have to if you get a stop, you have to be able to capitalize on it. If you can't do that, that's going to be another thing that's not going to attribute to our success in this game. Look, this is, as I called it earlier, it's a revenge game, right? There is so much bulletin board material for the Ravens to go after the Titans on this, between everything that happened last year, everything that happened earlier this year with the being out on the logo and the supposed non-issue between Vrabel and Harbaugh. There is just so much playing in this, and it really should drive them. And I think, a point to have here, I know that there's calls with Harbaugh and people saying, that there's issues, and people ad nauseum saying he should be fired. I definitely think he needs to be held accountable. I've said that all along. Sometimes do I think it's getting towards that point that there needs to be considerations made and look at the total picture here. Well, you put a note in here, 9th time in 13 seasons that the Ravens have made the playoffs under Harbaugh. That's 70%.
Yeah, that's 70%. So for all you Harbaugh haters out there, who's going to be better? Who is out there that day one is going to come in and be better? I understand our frustrations with Harbaugh. Nobody's perfect. There are frustrations. And I think Harbaugh could be an X factor in whether we win or lose this game.
Right.
A lot of the clock management type stuff. Does he get aggressive on 4th downs? Does he kick versus going for it, and trying to take 7? Like, there's a lot of X factors that come into close games like this. We've seen both things. We've seen Harbaugh do great with them. We've seen Harbaugh do make bad decisions. So yeah, that's not his strength, but I'm a Harbaugh believer. I know James is the hugest of Harbaugh fans. I know he wants somebody else in there. I can see him rolling his eyes, and I'm not even watching.
You said that, and his hand went up, and he went, "Yep, that's me." He's over there under that same token. Yeah, I mean, I think everything that we've talked about, and you know, I feel like some of it all year we've talked ad nauseum about it. Some of it, you know, we've just said you got to continue to do. I think the biggest thing, like you said, to kind of wrap it up, is we've got to do three main things. We got to stick with what got us there. We have to stop Henry and Brown, and overall, we have to capitalize. If I'm going to sum it up to three things.
Fall asleep on you?
No. Why?
I'm just making sure. I haven't heard him in a while.
Oh, he actually had to step away from the desk for a moment. We all know he has a small bladder.
Oh, okay.
He has a small bladder. You know that. He's here for the show sometimes, and he takes 20 pisses while he's here. He's gonna love that when he comes back.
That's not a problem for me.
Yeah, right. Oh man. Well, I don't know how long did you want to stay on? You want to keep going with us on the show, or did you just want to chime in for that section? What did you want to do?
You guys. I just wanted to call in, one, because I'm excited. It's Ravens week. Two, I wanted to say thank you for all the kind words and the shot earlier on in the show. It meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to my mother. My mother watched it. She saw all the comments. So really appreciate everybody. Appreciate all of your support, as always. But no, you guys take it from here, man. I just wanted to call in and say hey and shoot the shit with you guys for a couple of minutes. But I'll be watching.
All right, man. Well,
thanks,
glad.
Big guy, take it easy.
Yeah, they see he chimes in. He's back.
All right, man. You too.
All right, man. Appreciate you chiming in. And for those that maybe just kind of getting in, Fred had a passing in his family, and we did a shot for him earlier, and we wish you the best of luck, man. And I think you're still on, but
thank you.
The one thing I will say, I said it to you in text message. I'm gonna say it to you live on air here. We love you, brother. We are all family here, and we appreciate everything that you do, but also, we're here for anything that you need. And obviously, Birdland BS Nation is showing that they're here for you too. So, make sure you guys reach out to Fred, have a drink for him, and thoughts and prayers with his family. Appreciate it, buddy. Appreciate you chiming in. We'll talk to you later, man.
Thank you.
All right, bro.
Thanks, man. Let's do the damn thing.
You know it. There we go. All right, guys. So there was Fred. It was good. That was unexpected, completely unplanned. Perfect timing for you, Mr. Small Bladder.
Yeah, I heard that from the bathroom. Shit.
That was all Fred.
Yeah, Fred started the conversation, by the way.
I'm not shocked.
You're going to have to go back and listen to see what he said.
Oh, I will be.
But before we get into the predictions, the last thing, again, make sure you give Fred a shout out. We appreciate you guys as Birdland BS Nation. You guys always, God, I can't tell you guys don't necessarily get to see this, but there are so many times, like if we don't have a show, James, you're the one that used to do it when we first, started.
What's going on?
No show? What's going on? We get texts from James like, everything okay? Yeah. You guys all right? Like, we appreciate that you guys care about. This is a bunch of guys that are just having fun, shooting the shit. Like, this is really just a hobby for us. We're not making any money, or the money that we get from our sponsor literally comes back into the show, so we can buy a new camera or we can pay for our stuff to be sponsored. So. We appreciate you guys, and we appreciate everything that all of you do for us.
They get me out of the house or into a orange room for 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
Mr.
Oopa Loompa.
Give my little bit of a break.
All right, gentlemen, it is time for some prime time predictions. Wildcard predictions, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Super prediction.
Let's take a look at last week. Last week, Fred was 3-2. I shit the bed and was 1-4. Brian, 4-1 last week.
It's about time.
About time he showed up. 3-2 for James, Drew, and Ryan all last week. Brian also got the pick to click, by the way. He finally is on the board. The last week of the season, he's on the board for a pick to click.
I was hoping to be able to hold that over.
Well, you had to, because his record is 31-41. So
yeah, he struggled this year, but he actually predicted the Browns-Steelers game. He had 2 games that he was within 2 points. And
just to throw it out, he kept it consistent with the 2020 year. He also finished last in the Birdland BS race.
Yeah, he did. He made that happen. Yeah. So overall, our pick to clicks, Fred, buddy, you won it. 10. He had 10 all year. He just killed it. Ryan, second place with 4. I had 2. Brian and James had 1, along with Drew, who had 1 guest click, as we called it at the time.
I don't know if I'm a guest anymore at this
You're
point.
not anymore, but we were most of the way
chair.
through the season before that happened.
Yeah, it was.
So as we've said before, stay tuned for next season. We'll see if there's any other sports that we do this with, but we are going to do a Pick'em League next year that'll be open to everybody, and the best will actually wind up getting a Birdland BS package. We're going to figure that out. Steve, we have a call-in line. It's not active right now, but we will get that back active in the coming weeks because we know that you guys have been talking about it. Mainly, it'll be active. Our call-in line will probably be active during the after-hours segment for the most part. So let's get back to our predictions here. So, obviously, Ravens go into Tennessee Sunday, 1:05 on ESPN. Big time game. Everybody's watching. No other games on. So that's why we're calling it a primetime game. Drew, who do you have winning this game?
This was a tough one for me. I decided to be a homer and go with 33-27 Ravens. I just think this year you had to have learned from your past mistakes. And I like to think that that's what happened. Like you had made a lot of mistakes last year in the playoffs, and maybe health was a contributing factor in that matchup against Titans this year. I want to believe that you fixed the mistakes. You know what's wrong, and you know that you need to stick to what got you here.
Yeah.
Running the ball, using Lamar's craziness all over the field.
Yeah.
And I like to think that they figure that out this year, because if they don't, you'll find out right away.
Oh yeah.
You're
going to know right away for sure. So would you have the score again?
So yeah, it's 33-27.
All right. James, how about you? Where do you stand on this?
First off, I'm going to put the camera on me. Okay, I don't do much with the camera on me, but I'm going to just face the camera and tell everybody I'm tired of, we're favored to win this game. I love my Ravens. I'm tired of the shit talking and all that. Play the fucking game. Play the way that we play. Run it down their fucking throats and do what we do best. Stop bending what we were supposed to do and get scared and all.
Why does this sound like a hype video?
Because right now I have the Titans win this game.
You're gonna give a hype video and then pick the Titans?
Yeah, because I'm tired of it, you Ravens. Play
You Ravens.
football.
What?
Play what we know best. As Drew said, give 27 the goddamn ball, run it down their fucking throats, and win this goddamn game. Because I'm tired of it. We're the best team. We're there. Fucking show up, Lamar. Win this game, and I'm done. Every week it's going to be Ravens to the Super Bowl. Because every time we're in the wild card spot, we go to the Super Bowl, I'll take it. I'll see the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl, and we kick their ass. So right now, I have the Titans win this game. I'm just tired of it. I'm going with the Titans because, they're 2-0 against us, and we need to change it up.
I thought he was starting out with a hype video, and he turns around, flips it, and goes, "No, Titans are winning this shit."
I knew he was picking the Titans. So I was wondering where that was going.
Are you trying some reverse psychology shit? Is that what you're trying?
I'm just tired of we're favored for this game. We're favored to win a lot of games.
We're
favored to win. We're favored to go 60-0 this year. But there's a thing called COVID and players getting hurt.
All right. Fair enough. Well, I mean, you're not the only one on that boat because Brian also has this being a Titans win, 30-24. So he's got just the extra 3 points on top of what you've got. Ryan has the Ravens 35-24. Fred and I are a little bit closer. Fred's got Ravens winning 31-27. I've got it being Ravens 35-24. I do have this being, I think we can pull it out, and I think you wind up seeing this game is done by the time there's, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I think the game is done and out of reach for the Titans at that point. So I'd love that. I know I saw a few people chiming in with some scores here. Living Legend says 51-3 Ravens. Alex says 35-21 Titans. Cheese Munchie says 44-31. Nick says shortened game makes it 17-10 Ravens. Ken 27-10 Ravens. I think that was the first prediction that I saw on there. So a lot of you guys chiming in, a lot of people thinking the Ravens. So James, you and Brian are on. You better hope Brian's been right this week, as he was last week, and I hope you're wrong. Do you at least hope you're wrong?
I'm hoping I'm wrong all the time, but but I'm just tired of the shit. Like, you know,
I'm with you. I'm with him a little bit on that point. Like I'm tired of this shit too. You had the issue where you didn't know what this team was doing a month and a half ago. You didn't know what direction you were going. You look like the laughing stock of the league because you had the COVID outbreak. But I'm at this point where, like, you were expected to be down and out. You turn it back around. I don't give a shit who I don't care who was on the schedule. Because if you played those 5 games in September and you still won them, it doesn't matter. You still won the 5 games.
You turned it on and started firing on all cylinders.
That's where I go with my prediction. If they stick to what they've been doing,
keyword stick.
Just stick with it. Like I said, if you're not making mistakes that you have to deter from that, sky's the limit. I'm over it too, because if you don't win this one,
I'm just tired of it. Like, everybody that we need should be in this game. Everybody's gonna be playing this game. Also,
there's no excuses.
You have a guy, that could be the MVP of the league, Derrick Henry, with over 2,000 yards. That guy's a man-child running over people, and if we can't stop him, it's gonna be a long day for the Ravens.
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole because I know we need to get to picks. Did you see the numbers he put up against just his division? It's 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
against just that division. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not to take away from Henry, but it's just like, well, when you get to go against the Jaguars and Texans defense, twice a year.
I'm
not taking it away from him.
No, I mean,
you got to take away from the Bills too, because they played the Jets in New England.
Yeah, but we didn't know. You didn't know going into the season that New England was going to shit the bed as bad as they did. I mean, they came within 2 weeks of being in the hunt to make the playoffs before they were actually eliminated.
Anyway, he's a bad man. When you're throwing men around the field.
He's definitely the best pure running back in the league. No, hands down. There is no argument. He is the best pure running back, pure power running back that there is in the league.
Tennessee came up with 2. They're good drafting running backs because Chris Johnson was another 2,000-yard rusher.
Yeah. I mean, they have a history of that. I mean, think back and look at Eddie George.
Yeah,
Eddie George was the same way. They
ran into Ray Lewis, and then.
Well, yeah, but that was what made that rivalry so good because he was able to stomp everybody else. But here's Ray Lewis that can't. Eddie George can't get past Ray Lewis half the time. But in this game, I think we all are in agreement. It's going to be a 1 to maybe 1.5 score game. I'll call it, right. Nobody's got this being a blowout in any way, shape, or form. Everybody's got this being within reasonable reach in the fourth quarter for some team.
I like this one, Steven, if this is not true, I expect you to do a shot on the next show because
he says road team always wins.
No, it's true.
I just say there was something
that's
about
true, and I don't know the number. I don't know if it's 2-2 or 3-3, but the road team has won every matchup between us and the Titans in the playoffs.
All right,
for Fred too.
We'll see what happens. All right, so
don't doubt Fred. Come on.
Let's look at the Saturday 105 game. This is the first playoff game of Super Wildcard weekend. This one, we're gonna get through this one quick. 105 on CBS. Colts at the Bills. This is a clean sweep for all of us. We all have the Bills, and I think we all have this being at least a 1-score game at the minimum. No, at the minimum, yeah, because I'm the one that has the closest.
At 10.
I've got it 33-27. That's the closest score. Everybody else is 10 or more.
Yeah, no, you do, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, we all think the Bills are handedly going to be able to do this. Just how handedly are they going to be able to do it? I don't put it past Phillip Rivers to put up a little bit of a fight here. He's historically, wound up shitting the bed in the playoffs. I get that.
Except for us.
Yeah, except for us. But I think it's one of those things that they're just not going to be able to overcome it. There's too much on this Colts team that's not clicking, not firing all cylinders. They barely made it in. I think it winds up being handedly the Bills. Any other comments on this game?
Nick Short has the Bills winning 42-21. Yeah, you can't sleep on Rivers, but if they just run the ball and do like short passes, I think they could be all right.
But it's not like this isn't going to be a shootout game.
Oh, I know. Rivers doesn't have the strength to
but the
throw.
other question is I mean, you seem to be our defensive expert here.
I guess.
Well, when it comes to the Bills, the Bills going against this
I'll go
Colts
to what you
defense.
said. You don't see it really being an offensive game. Did you really see them putting up 56 against the Dolphins? Because that Dolphins defense
had been stout for the past several weeks.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of what you foresee out of the Colts, that's really a lot of the defense has been carrying the Colts. I mean, they put like the way the Bills have been rolling, and then it's not the same as what the Ravens were doing last year. But to my point of that is Josh Allen's got something to prove at this point too, because they had a really good season last year, and then it came to the Houston game. And they were playing good at first, and then like instead of relying on the defense and running the ball, they threw the ball like 26 times in just the second half, and it was like at that time in the Bills, if they threw for like 40, that wasn't a good thing. Right. Like that was a bad thing, and that was seen him make mistakes.
Maybe he might be a Lamar, and when it comes to playoff,
because that's what I'm saying. Like I think the Bills have a lot to prove in this year, just as much as we do.
Yeah, well, I mean they have to prove their season wasn't a fluke.
Yeah.
Right, so that's their biggest thing. So, all right, so we all agree the Bills. Saturday 4:40 game on Fox. This is the Rams at the Seahawks. So this one's we're somewhat split here.
No,
so
not split.
I said somewhat split.
No, it's just the two.
Look, we're going to be on the right side of history.
Anyway,
it's okay.
Exactly.
Hosts.
So Fred, we'll put it this way: Fred, Brian, James, and Ryan all say the Seahawks are going to win. So you are going to speak on behalf of all four of you. Why are the Seahawks going to win?
Because their offense hasn't showed up in a while. This is going to be the game that does it. And I don't think golf is going to play. So I think they just have the upper hand, and it is in Seattle. So I give it to the home team.
Okay. All right. Well, you and I both have the Rams. What are you liking about the Rams? Because I'll be honest, I picked the Rams because I know you've been like the past several weeks, the Rams have played a primetime game. We picked on them. You've been like, this Rams defense.
Defense.
They've been showing up, and they have, and
Look,
you've been right Jets, every single time.
Except the Jets.
It's the Jets. It was a fluke. You can have one bad game. I'll let him have it.
That was a lower scoring game too, though. That was. It
wasn't a blowout game. It wasn't a shootout.
They had golf too.
There's a weird feeling I have that somehow like a backup quarterback with that defense is actually the one, not to lead them to the promised land. I mean, if they win, they're winning this game only. I'm not going to have them, winning another game. But you're getting to for me, like I said, like that's a defensive minded team. You're getting to a point where you got a guy like Donald. Okay, you've kind of overtaken that like J.J. Watt role where you're the best defensive player in the league, right?
Hands down.
At some point, I mean, granted, it's you only do so much as those all pros can do. At some point, are you going to win a game? At some point, are Ramsey, you're this lockdown corner that everyone says is a mouth runner and shuts down guys. I mean, he can shut down guys. He did it to Hopkins all year long.
Yeah, they got a lot of good wide receivers, and
and
Scott knows about that.
I really think like this defense. I think this is one of those games where I think this is not that he needs to do it to stand out because he's already stood out. I think this is one of those games where you go back and go, holy shit, did you see what Donald did in that playoff game? I think he literally is the biggest reason why they win this game.
And that's one of the things you saw what happened when the Seahawks have gone when they've gone up against tough D's most of the year. They've had their struggles to put points on the board.
The Giants game,
yeah, it's
at home.
It's one of those things. I think there's a lot that's riding on this. The Seahawks do have something to prove, right? Because they still haven't overcome that Giants loss, as far as I'm concerned. And I think they have a lot to prove, and that could lean in their favor. But that's also why I have this being a very, very close-scoring game. I've got the Rams winning by 3. I've got it being 24-21. It's not a shootout, but it's not a low-scoring game. I've got it being right there, kind of in the middle. And Drew, you were saying you didn't think it was going to be that different from what I had it either. You had what, 2018?
Yeah, mine's 20-18. I have it being the lesser score. The Seahawks defense has since it seems like it's something like with Adams back healthy, and which I'll be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of his. Like I think he's, but I digress. It seems with him back healthy, and they brought in Carlos Dunlap.
Yeah,
it's a lot different than what you used to see out of that defense in September and October, where you could put it. They'd have to put up points.
Adams can do some damage in that backfield too.
And it's just like
he can.
It's DK. You know, it's Russell Wilson. You like to give him a lot of credit, and you like to watch DK Metcalf do his thing and go, holy shit. But this last couple of weeks, so
the defense going to be scoring.
It's like you won that division because the Rams never seized that opportunity. The Niners stayed hurt all year because even when the Niners weren't healthy, you couldn't walk into a Niners game and go, "Oh yeah, Niners are going to lose by 20."
Well, they beat the Rams,
and they exactly.
Right. So,
yeah. It's gonna be a close game. Fred had this while he had the Seahawks, he had 31-30, right? So he says close game. Brian says 24-20. Ryan says 35-17. Both them and the Seahawks. What was your final score on this, James?
31-27.
Okay, so we all agree it's going to be a close game. It's just how close of a game is it going to be? Ryan's the only one that's got this being a double-digit game.
Yeah.
So
but it could be, or it could be just like a 13-3 score too, because you never know what's going to happen.
If both defenses show up, both offenses get shit the bed. Yeah, it absolutely could be. So we'll see what happens. Next game, Saturday night. You've got I think this might be the game, or no, I think it's the Bears-Saints game. That's the one that's on Nickelodeon. So we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, it's Bears-Saints.
Yeah. So Saturday, 8:15, NBC, Saturday Night Football. You got the Bucs going into Washington. So crazy. This is the whole thing that's wrong with
the dumbest thing ever.
With the NFL.
You still go all the way down to Tampa for that record. You got a bad record, not even 500. Fly down there.
I so badly wanted the Giants to go into 6-10. I don't know why. Just because it is such a joke. Like
it is, but at the same time, like Alex Smith, the comeback story of the year, right? It's playing out movie-esque, right? And so it'd be nice to see them go in and put up a fight here. The problem that is it's the Washington football team. Now, the only thing I will be curious about is this Washington defense has been stepping up, led by Chase Young, right? He has been nonstop. He is a leader. He's a rookie captain on that team, right? Yeah. And that was week 6, I think, or week 7.
He's as advertised, too. He's
absolutely.
I mean, it wasn't like all right, well, I looked okay, and then I skyrocketed. Like, he looked good the whole. He's ascended like you would kind of expected.
Yeah,
I didn't realize how big he was. He's a big guy.
Oh, he's a big boy. Yeah,
I see him next to quarterbacks, and quarterbacks are big, and he's like towering them.
Oh yeah, he's huge, and to your point, as advertised, he's really helped to lead. I say that he should get credited with Washington being where they are, right? Because he put this team on his back as a leader, both mentally and physically, and he really has stepped up. I just don't know that he's going to be able to stop. There's too many weapons for Tom Brady. Now, the only thing that I will say in this game is that Tom Brady has struggled this year under pressure, but the past few games, he hasn't experienced as much pressure as he did early in the season.
Yeah, you'll see how legit that pressure, because that's a great upfront. That's
going to be a test.
You'll see it right away, because if the first quarter, if they're not getting to him, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, we all have this being a 2-score game or more. We all have the Bucs winning, another clean sweep here, no doubter. Fred 35-17. I've got it 33-22. Brian has 30-10. Ryan has 27-10. What did you have, Drew?
30-17. I wanted to give Washington a little credit because I think you do deserve. It's a 7-9 record, and it is a joke, but considering where you expected it to be Dwayne Haskins. And you've had the whole fiasco with that and with, but the fiasco of that and the fiasco of Dan Snyder, your owner, and the change in the name and all this crap, you have the 2 feel-good stories in the comeback player of the year, because we know that's happening.
Right.
The comeback player of the year and a coach that dealt with cancer treatments the whole year.
Oh yeah.
It's like I did going into this game. I wanted to like give it a little. I think it's Tom Brady, and I don't think it's the same Tom Brady in any stretch of the word, but I don't see him losing at least. You know what I mean? Like I don't see him not winning one game. And if you're gonna face a team to at least give the confidence for the Bucs, that's the team to face.
You also can't deny the weapons that he has, right?
Well, he might be down one. Mike Evans, I don't think Mike Evans is playing.
No, but you still have what? You still have Godwin. You still have Gronk. You still have Brown, who has stepped in like crazy, right? So
Miller.
there's so much going on down there in Tampa Bay. It's across the board. James, what did you have the final score being here?
I have it more 41-23. First off, hats off to Ron Rivera. I think he has changed the culture down in Washington from what the shit it was. But
he is, to relate it here locally, he is for Washington to an extent what Locks is to Maryland.
Yeah.
Right? He's changing the culture and saying we're not going to put up with this stuff where you're going to make decisions that affect the team. You're gone.
But I'm all good. I'm not good for the field stories. That's why they make movies. But Alex Smith should not have been in the league this year. He should have retired, but he wants that money, which is fine. But they already now said they're doing a dual quarterbacks this week.
And I
think that's blowing smoke.
I'm sure they'll.
I think it is.
He would get tore up by the pass
They'll
rush.
They'll factor some of it.
He might get hurt in this game, to be honest.
I can't say that. I mean,
dude, that pass rush, they ain't gonna take it lightly. Oh, Alex, it's okay. We're not gonna. They're gonna give him a little wake up call. He has a brace because he can't plant and throw off that foot. I love the guy. He's a great guy, but it's ain't a feel good story to be in the playoffs. They don't care.
I mean, it's not going to be a feel good story to the point that they're going to win this game, but I think it's going to be a feel good story that he's.
Matter of fact, he's not going to finish this game.
You were fucking ruthless on this one.
It's football. This ain't power.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
They're here to
suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, pretty much the definition.
He's not going to finish this game.
You almost died on the table. I don't give a shit. You're going to die on the field.
I won't be surprised at halftime he doesn't start.
I don't know that I can say that.
Okay.
If you think that's the case, and we'll see. If you're right, I will give you kudos. I will give you kudos next week. Yes, but Alex
can't
Smith
move.
He's been able to plant off the back foot for the past few weeks. From what I've seen, he's been making solid throws. He's
bouncing the ball. He can't throw the ball downfield. They're like 10-yard passes.
He also doesn't necessarily have an offensive line that's been helping him, and he's still been making throws.
Not happening. He's going to do a 3-yard pass and hope the run game's there.
And that's fine, but I'm not saying he's going to light the. He's not going to have a 300-yard passing game.
Oh no, but I'm just saying he's.
But he's gonna. I guarantee you, he throws for at least one, if not two touchdowns in this game.
This down.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
I want to change my pick to the Washington football team.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to do that.
They're going to have a different name next year, anyways.
Yeah, right.
I don't. Who knows anymore with that team?
All right. So next game. This is the Nickelodeon game. Nickelodeon.
There we go.
Sunday, 4:40, CBS, Nickelodeon, I think Amazon Prime or Amazon Video.
You can watch it. I can watch it everywhere. I got all that.
Yeah, right. So it's Bears at the Saints. Clean sweep. Like, this is not even a question with everything that the Bears, again, another team, like, how the hell did they make it in?
Because of the NFC.
Right.
That was the funny thing, and I'm glad probably would have cared a lot more if the Ravens would have been that team that's outside looking in and we didn't make it. You look at it, you got a division winner that's 7-9 and the last wild card seed that's 8-8, but yet the Miami sitting at home because with a 10-6 record.
It's not the true test of the best teams in the NFL.
You got an extra wild card now, and the 8-8 team gets in.
Right. So all right. So the Saints, we all have the Saints winning this game with no problem. I have this being a fairly big blowout. I mean, not huge, but enough that it's going to be out of reach. I'll say out of reach by middle of the third quarter. I think it's going to go up early, and the points that are going to happen for the Bears are going to happen in garbage time, as far as I'm concerned. I've got it Saints 30-13. Fred has 27-19. Brian has 38-17. Ryan has 27-17. James, what do you have in this game? Who you got winning? And obviously the Saints.
Saints 35-24. Like, everybody's back healthy. Michael Thomas is going to be playing. he should be back, right? They're saying.
I think they're saying he should.
He'll be able to play, and as
to.
far as I know, he was completely asymptomatic the whole time,
Yeah,
so you kind of don't really expect it to hinder him.
The Saints are good. Their defense is excellent. So.
All right, Drew, what do you got?
Yeah, I obviously clean sweep. I got 38-10.
All right.
Not close.
Ken chiming in says 42-6 Saints. Good God, that would be the worst playoff game I will have ever
not
seen.
shock anybody.
No. Nick Short did chime in, say the WTFs 14 and Lady Brady 42.
It's like close to my score.
Yeah, pretty close to your score. So love it here. Last game. This is another game where this is literally a split. Okay.
Yeah.
Sunday, 8:15, NBC. You got the Browns going into the Steel City in Pittsburgh, taking on the Steelers. This will be the game to watch. This outside of I think the Ravens game and the Browns-Steelers game will be the two games that will be the most watched this weekend, because these are going to be two hard-fought games. I think for me, the Steelers last week, obviously, they played each other. So you have the fresh look, but they don't have a fresh look at Ben. Last time they played Ben was earlier in the season. They've had a look at Mason Rudolph, who still beat them this week.
Yeah.
And now, I understand the Browns were down wide receivers. I get it. But this week, as of this moment,
I thought the Browns won the game.
Browns won the game.
Did they win the game?
I didn't know where he was going with that.
Yeah.
I thought he just meant but
they won that game.
They won the game by 2.
Yeah. Because Brian had it close.
That's right. Yeah, because Brian got it with
They
him.
won the game by 2.
Right.
I think Brian put the same score that he had for last week, too, for the same game.
24-21?
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I think he just repeated it.
No, he had 25-21 last week.
Oh, close enough. It's close enough.
I got
It's close enough.
Doesn't matter.
Either way, I think they were seeing Mason Rudolph. They weren't seeing him. I get that the Browns had some guys down.
Rudolph put up numbers probably majority of the time better than Ben has been.
But to be honest,
good.
I think they knew the Browns were probably going. I think the Browns knew they were going to still make the playoffs, and I don't think they showed what they were going to do, because they probably knew they were going to.
Yeah, but now you have to worry. Now you have to worry
about Big Ben.
I'm not saying to worry about Big Ben. The reason I didn't pick the Browns right this moment, I have this being a close game, 31-28 Steelers.
I think we all have it close.
I literally flipped a coin over this game, because if the head coaching staff winds up registering a negative and being able to come back, then I think the game could go the way of the Browns. As it sits at this moment, with 3 of your top coaching staff members out, I don't know that anybody should be picking the Browns. I know we have people picking the Browns, but how can you pick the Browns when 3 of your top play callers and top coaching staff are not going to be on the sideline? They're not going to be present.
A top tackle, too.
And a top tackle. Thank you. I've got to be so. All right, so you say Steelers.
You start throwing T.J. Watt on that side where Bitonio isn't at anymore, and all bets are off. This could be the point where he's trying to earn himself that extra contract to go along with how great he's looked since he started playing.
So I'm going to assume you got Steelers here too. Then
Steelers 24-21.
Okay.
I don't. You got the Browns going through a lot of issues right now, and this could be a situation where by Friday week they could have half their team's gone, like happens to the Ravens. Let's say they don't, and it's just where it is now. You've got a starting tackle out, and that was the situation last year. They didn't have offensive line.
Right.
Well, that's one of the key cogs that's been there for years, because he was the longest tenured Brown at the time to never make it to the playoffs. And then you get to the playoffs and he ain't there. So you got him out, and that whole basically the offensive coaching staff. And you can set up the game plan, because you can do the game plan on Zoom and all that stuff. But when you're in crunch time and it's late third quarter and you got to make a decision, and you don't have that main guy there, because give Stefanski credit, he's had a hell of a season with that team. But you got in the crunch time.
You ain't making the play call this week.
You know what I mean? You're not making the play call this time, and you're going against a coaching staff that has been there before.
tenured, been there.
I mean, we don't like them, but that's, you know what I mean? The Steelers have been there before, and the Browns have not. And maybe part of it for me is I almost, it's funny because, you know, they've been the doormat for so long.
Yeah.
I think I don't like the Browns more than I don't like the Steelers. I can't.
Well, I think the problem with the Browns is there's so much hype built around them, especially since Baker. It's hype. We're gonna be great this year. We're gonna be great this year, and it's like, all right, guys, shut up at some point. Like, and it's shut up or put up. And now they're putting up, so you start to hate them a little bit because it's like,
well, because it's like, oh yeah, like you said, and that was a game for the ages against the Ravens on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah. A lot of times I heard that week after, oh, well, you know, congratulations, Browns. Like, yeah, you lost that game, but goddamn, did you look good? They lost the game. The pressure was on the line, and they lost the game. The pressure was on the line, and Baker Mayfield fumbled the ball 3 times to the Jets.
Yeah.
It's still one of those things where if you're going to tell me that you have question marks on Lamar, you have question marks on a Josh Allen type, you know, those two guys, like, there's a lot of pressure on them. Why the hell isn't there any pressure on Baker? Because the Browns finally made it there, and it's just cool to be there. Congratulate. No, like, he's still got lots to prove.
At this point, the Browns, he's got they built weapons around him this year, right? He's technically had the weapons last year. This year, he's got the weapons. He needs to show that he can take that next level. He needs to be able to win. I don't think he can either. Fred is along the same lines. He's got this, again, very, very close game, but he's got it being a little bit more of a shootout than you and I have it. He's got 35-32. So he's on there. So, James, you're going to speak for you, Brian, and Ryan. What do you got?
I have the Browns winning 27-23. I just think Pittsburgh ain't what they used to be, and Ben's just old, and I think he should think about retiring next year. He looks tired and beat up, and he looks slower than before. I just think this is the year it just, you know, comes to an end. They had a good run. Well, they won 11 straight games or 12 straight games.
It was 11-0 to start, yeah.
Yeah.
Our third round QB almost beat the Steelers.
Yeah.
And I just feel like their ship has sailed. It's time maybe they're going to have to think about going in a different direction. I just think this is the Browns' year.
Okay. So, all right. So you got it 27-23. Ryan has it 35-27.
And Ryan just put Ben can't throw, and they don't have a running back. So that's why he picked the Browns.
All right. Well, I'm looking at the Steelers' defense and what they've been able to do. I know they've had some struggles here as of recent, but early in the year, it's this. They have what? They have 2 of the top sack leaders in the league, right?
I think it was that way until Dupree tore his ACL. I think it was at the time at the time of that game when he tore his ACL, they were like 2 of the like top 5, yeah.
And I think Dupree is still technically within the top 6. I think he's number 6 on the outlier. I think he had 8 or 9 sacks maybe or 9 sacks somewhere. He's like right on the cusp of 10
Don't
sacks.
ask me. They're the Steelers. I don't give a shit.
I only know this because I forget who was talking about it. Somebody, I think it might have been Colin Cowherd, was talking about the fact that they were looking at guys that had, or actually no, scratch that. It was buddies over at PressBox Online, Kyle and Glenn over at PressBox Online just the other day. They were talking about it. It was like their question of the day, and they were like, are there 2 Steelers on the list? And he was like, there probably should be.
Yeah.
So it's this defense has been able to do things. It's worked. I just don't know that the Browns can put it all together. The Browns do Browns things.
I just want to know who puts these games together and when they play. Because I feel like the Ravens always play at 1 o'clock.
Well, I'm not complaining. I'd rather them play Sunday at 1 o'clock. Am I the only one?
Yeah.
No,
I
get that because we've had, let's be real, outside of that.
Last year we had that last year we had the night game because we were the number 1 seed.
Right, but I think the other side of it is the past few years with us, we've had our struggles in the primetime games. Minus this year, we've definitely had our struggles in primetime games. Minus the game against the Browns, which was the best game of the year.
I would love to see the Colts Bills game Sunday night over the Browns. Steelers game.
I think what you're looking at, the Browns and Steelers, it's the rivalry. It's a close game. It's the old gunslinger versus the new kid on the block type. That's you're building it. It's marketing, right? That's what you do, and it's a division rivalry going against each other. It's what quote unquote what movies are made of type mentality. That's why I think it works because okay, great. Let's say you put Bears Saints there. Okay. Is that really the game that you want to be watching that we all think is going to be a blowout? The Bucks and Washington.
Oh, hell no.
The only reason that I think that's there, obviously it's there because of the records, but I think that's also billed as, you've got the 42-year-old Tom Brady that's trying to still prove himself and still prove that he's got it. Well, but then on top of that, I agree with you. But on top of that, you get the feel-good stories that we were talking about before. So there's a lot that goes into these billings, and I think it's marketing at its best. And the only thing I would say is I do agree. I think the Ravens-Titans should have been a primetime game for the purposes of if you're trying to really expel a narrative, this is one that you do. You go the Titans, who's the team is going, we're 2-0 against the Ravens. Bring them. Let's go, right? And you got the Ravens who are going, you guys think you're that good, huh? Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when it comes down to it this year. So we'll see what happens, and we'll let you guys know next week who's right.
I kind of want to take this one.
Okay. All right. So
let's talk it up because I thought it was pretty good. That's why
I went up and got the brew of the week this week, and it's not necessarily my taste. It's a West Coast style double IPA. West Coast IPAs, I'm for. The double IPAs, they get a little bit like tangy to me.
Yeah,
is the easiest way to describe it. But what do you think? What are we drinking on?
I liked it. So it's called Takeout. I like the can. I don't know if you can really see it.
Takeout.
It's got like the takeout, plastic bags. So that's it comes from Black Flag Brewing Company out of Columbia, Maryland. Okay. This is their West Coast double IPA, like you said, called Takeout. This stuff is 8.4 ABV. I always like that high ABV.
You're only allowed to have one according to your wife.
I only had one, Ariel.
I swear, he only had one.
I don't know if you're still.
Actually, he hasn't even finished it.
Yeah. No,
did you?
No, I tried this natty light. I digress. It's a modern take on a West Coast IPA. Crystal clear, features Centennial, old school grapefruit and citrus, and Strata, new school heady and dank. Let this one warm slightly from the fridge. I think that's kind of what helped a little bit.
Yeah.
And to experience the full flavors and aromas and take you right to the left coast, like you were just out on the bay.
It's
the different bay.
I was gonna say West Coast of the country, not the state.
Yeah,
Drew.
Yeah.
Wrong coast there, buddy.
Yeah.
No, this stuff. I mean, like I said, it's not too bad if you do like double IPAs. Double IPAs can have that tang or that bite to them with the hoppiness that some people will describe, and that's the Strata, the dank style.
I wish it would pick better colors. It looks
I like the takeout idea, but
they should have gone white. They should have gone white and red.
White red would have been better.
Yeah, white and red would have been good.
It's like Steelers colors, and you're from Baltimore.
I wouldn't look. Yeah. I wouldn't. I'm sure they're Steelers fans.
I don't know about Black Flag.
They got the papers in the trash.
It's Columbia.
We'll see what happens. But make sure you guys go up to Liquor Stop, 1510 Conowingo Road. Tell them that Birdland BS sent you. Get your 10% off.
I'll make it there one day. Swear.
It's a little bit more of a drive for you.
It is.
All right, guys. So rundown. We don't have too many topics this week, but the two topics that we have, I think we could probably go on forever about. We're gonna go on and talk about them. So the first is we saw this past weekend what I guess technically formerly known as the BCS, and now it's the CFP.
Yeah, the college football playoff.
The BCS is no more, I guess, so to speak. But we see Alabama, who seemed to just throttle Notre Dame.
I wasn't
31-14, and then Ohio State shocked the world. Right, I'm for sure Fred is chomping at the bit as we're talking about this. Starting with Dabo Swinney, they get the blowout win against Clemson, 49-28. Let's start with the Alabama game. Did either of you guys get a chance to watch this, or at least watch the highlights of it?
Yeah, Notre Dame should have not been in this game.
Yeah, I mean this was a hands down game that it was a game that you
Put
knew.
me to sleep. to be honest.
You knew in the first quarter Alabama was going to win this game.
They're just good.
They're that good. I mean, Devontae Smith, 7 receptions, 130 yards with 3 TDs.
He's going to Heisman tonight.
I was wondering when that popped off.
I think
he should win it.
I think it's 9:30 is when the Heisman.
Okay,
Heisman
if any year, I mean, like
somebody in the chat room chime in
year.
and let us know where it's at here, and we'll see what happens. But so obviously Devontae Smith goes off in this game. QB Mac Jones becomes the first Alabama QB in the Nick Saban era to eclipse 4,000 yards in a single season.
That's why it's almost like the Heisman.
He won the Heisman, the wide receiver.
Did he?
Thank God.
What time was that? How long ago was that?
Just now.
I don't know. It said that's their top story on the ESPN.
All right.
Because I'm tired. I'm kind of tired of seeing quarterbacks dominate these MVP and Heisman debates. Like, I get it. If
not for good wide receivers, you may not have good.
And it's weird to say.
It said it was an hour ago.
Of the shortened season.
So it happened at 8:30.
It's like, it's still amazing. I'm not sure. I guess they played everything, but the different season. It's still, it's wildly impressive what he did, but that makes it equally impressive that a wide receiver can do that in a different year than normal.
Well, I mean, let's look at this, right? He had 4,000 passing yards in the season. In this game, he was 25 for 30 with 297 yards, 4 TDs. So of what I just said, 130 of that, so a third, actually more than a third, went to one wide receiver, and 3 out of 4 touchdowns went to the same wide receiver. That's why I got Devontae Smith. I've argued this about good QBs. Good QBs, it's kind of the chicken and the egg, right?
Yeah.
Do good QBs make good wide receivers, or do good wide receivers make good QBs?
I think both.
I think there's an argument for both sides, and that's always my point. I get people that the Brady is the prime example, right? Brady's he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Really? Is he?
He's good.
Is he that good, or did he have guys around him that he made better that were already good, or did he have guys that were already good and they just go to another guy that maybe he's not a good quarterback and can't hit him in stride like Brady could?
My favorite thing is I think Tom Brady made a lot of good wide receivers and tight ends and all that because he worked with them. He, figured them out, what their weakness is, what their strength is, and worked with it. And he was good with that. He was good with the Colts, and he was good in Denver. So, I agree with both. Like, there are some wide receivers that are just talented, like Randy Moss. Like, anywhere he probably went or did went, he caught the ball.
Right, but, I mean, you look at a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. Deshaun Watson, I don't care what anybody says. You can argue till the day we die. Deshaun Watson, he's on the bubble of being a backup QB.
Depends who you talk to.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. There's some people that are, he made DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins was the best wide receiver in the league, and he was his only target. If not for that, Deshaun Watson looks like shit.
And what's this guy, Devontae Smith?
Can I be the resident,
Go ahead.
DeAndre Hopkins was doing a lot of his shit before Watson got there with nobody.
Matt Schaub.
So I'll say this.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. I think Hopkins is the best receiver in the game. I think Deshaun Watson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
I think Fred just chimed in.
Oh God,
been drinking too much.
I haven't had that much to drink, Fred. Chill out, buddy.
What? Yeah. What are you talking about?
Who, me or him?
No, you. Deshaun Watson's a bona fide fucking backup quarterback? Are you kidding me?
I said he's on the bubble of being a backup quarterback.
They'd have fucking 2 wins if it wasn't for him. They'd have 1 win if it wasn't for him.
After you on this.
That defense is so terrible.
Smoking crack, Scott.
I love Will Fuller.
How many interceptions does he have this year?
The fuck is winners? So what?
What do you mean, so what? That's a measurable stat for a quarterback.
Throws interception. He leads with the most interceptions ever.
Are you going to compare Brett Favre to Deshaun Watson?
Yeah. Because he has.
Thank you for being on my side.
He has a lot of.
Look, we got black socks all over again in the house. So let me see if I care enough to ratchet this up.
No, you don't. We got to end the show.
Yeah,
we got.
Well, you're the one that started that shit.
All right, let's move it on.
I know what the after hours is going to be.
Yeah, we know where we're going with this.
Spoiler alert.
So the story of this game, though, despite everything with DeVonta Smith and how well he did, Najee Harris.
That was fucking amazing.
Not only does he have 15 carries for 125 yards, 8.3 yards per carry, play of the game and a top play of the year, hurdles the Notre Dame defender for a 53-yard run. I really wish he would have gotten into the end zone because it just would have put the nail in the coffin. But
yeah, it was amazing.
He just straight hurdled him, and the picture doesn't no justice. I put him hurdling over two other guys.
And it's like it didn't even slow him down either. Like he made the hurdle when he landed, he was still going. Like it didn't slow him down.
He was at speed. It was an at speed hurdle. It was great to see. So I think he's a guy that there is a lot of upside to him. I think he needs a little bit of refinement, but he's shown he's got the skill. He can when he hits that edge. He can make guys miss, and he, obviously he can leap over guys.
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't do that when he goes in the NFL because he's gonna get blown up.
I don't know though, because if you watch NFL lately,
that guy was standing up and he jumped over him.
Yeah, but there's good players, and then when you get to the NFL, there's great players, and once in a while you're gonna get rocked.
Oh, you can't do it on a regular basis like the tight end group that we had last year was doing, but at the same time. We've seen that pattern here in the NFL where they're going that route of we're seeing a lot more hurdles in the NFL than I feel like we've ever seen. And you're now seeing it at the collegiate level where it's just the pure athleticism. That takes timing.
Yeah.
The skill to jump that high. I mean, I don't know how tall the defender is, but even if he's my height and is 5'8", 5'9", that's impressive.
It is. I do that every night over my son's toys, and they're about like 2 inches off the floor.
I do it over my son.
Your son 2 inches too?
He's a small guy. His daughter, my daughter, his sister, nah, not happening. I'm just trucking her.
You're full Derrick Henry on her?
You're damn right.
Oh, man. So, obviously, that game, great game there. And we all knew Alabama was going to win. You said, Notre Dame never should have been there.
Nah.
But the Ohio State game, this is where I'm sure Fred's chomping at the bit to chime in here. Watson and Winston picked from the same tree, huh, Scott? Oh, my God, shut up. Anyway, Ohio State, this game, there were questions all year about Justin Fields. Was he overrated because they only played, 6 games this year? Man. Toughness.
He showed a lot of grit. I'll give him credit because I don't think. I'm not a big fan. I don't really know how much he can probably do in the next level. But what he did on Friday, yeah, you gotta give him absolute credit for taking a hit like that. Legal to me, if you ask me. But
well, I
get it. But if he doesn't turn his back.
If he doesn't turn his back, it's still a shot. He's not as injured as bad, but it's still a shot with the crown of the head.
I guess
it's against the rule. I don't agree with it. Just let these guys play. But I mean, he
showed a lot. He showed a lot.
Ribs in the lower back, like he basically got hit in the kidney.
I mean, and I didn't watch much of the second half because we were visiting Ryan and his family for New Year's, so. I watched the first half, and then a little after halftime, we went. So I didn't really see if he was still wincing. But, that whole, the next couple drives after that hit, every time he threw even the slightest little 5-yard pass, you could tell he was wincing. So you got to give him a lot of credit for what he did.
Yeah, I think it definitely shows of how he was. One thing I did find interesting, and I guess I maybe didn't I haven't paid attention, but obviously they show, I think it was Skolansky, was the guy that hit him, the linebacker that hit him. And he's ejected from the game or disqualified from the game. For some reason, I guess I never knew or paid attention to the fact that they're still allowed to be on the sideline.
Yeah, I was real confused by that, but then I think I saw something earlier on, they take his helmet away.
You have to take your helmet, your pads off.
Can I grab
you
some
have
kind
to,
of other helmet?
right.
I mean,
punter, give me your helmet now.
I was still confused by it, but I guess I did see an explanation
also,
afterwards.
I didn't know if you saw that. Also, there, I forget who the guy was. Number 24. He got ejected from the last game, and he had to wait the whole first half to come back.
Oh yeah, and that's it. Had Clemson won in this game, it would have been the same thing. He would not have been available for the next game. I don't know how it plays when it plays at the end of the year. I don't know if he plays next year, does he have to sit out the first half of the first game next year? I don't know. I don't know if that translates. Well, it'd be something that we'll have to look into, but. Just, I mean, the toughness that Justin Fields shows, and to throw the way that he did, I mean, 22 for 28 for 385 yards, 6 TDs. 6. And half of that, he was injured. He was playing hurt.
You got to give him a lot of
credit. Did you see him getting on the bike?
Yeah.
He's getting on the bike going, you're waiting for them to be like, all right, he's done. That's grit and toughness, right? That's what you want to see out of a guy. And I think he to an extent, he bolsters himself because he shows that grit and toughness. But Fred, I think, chimed in and said, coming from a Buckeye fan, if Fields is at 100%, he doesn't think he's playing with that toughness. He thinks Ohio State loses by more than a TD if Fields is at 100%.
In that game?
Yeah, basically meaning that hit and coming back from that and going, you ain't going to put me down like that and try and knock me out of this game. That mentality is what he thinks caused them to win this game the way that they did, because he just came out there like he had something to prove, and he kind of did. Well, I mean, he was a little flat in the beginning of the game until that hit happened, and then it was boom, boom, boom. I think he at least scored 3, if not 4 of the touctouchdowns after that hit.
He meant against Alabama.
Yeah, I think he must have been against.
Okay, all right, never mind. Yeah. Well, but even still, I think I don't think they win by as much if Fields doesn't come out with that mentality. I do think there is a validity to what I was saying with that, what I thought you were saying, but clearly not. But I think he comes out with that "you're not going to take me out" type mentality, and that's what helps them to win this game.
Well, they don't have a chance as being the 11th ranked team to beat Alabama.
Ohio State. Those Ohio State fans giving Dabo at the end of the game so much crap.
I might have to stay out of
this.
It
was hilarious.
I was on Dabo's side.
You were.
Well, look,
I was on the fence.
But in the prestige of being a college quarterback, a college head coach of the other team, one of the other teams making the playoffs, you look like you look like an idiot posting, everyone knowing you posted them as the 11th. But I still kind of feel the same way he feels.
Well, but I think what everybody's point was, there was validity. There was not validity to the statement, but there was validity to the idea that, what if Ohio State, and I'm just spitballing, I don't think this would have happened. What if Ohio State lost their next 3 games?
Yeah.
Or next 4 games. They're not in the conversation anymore. Yeah. Or it's not as much in the conversation.
It probably would have been A&M.
You didn't have a full season to go off of. So he was measuring against teams that had a full season to go off of. That's why a lot of his teams, I think, were SEC teams, if I remember correctly. Because he was like, we have a full thing to go off of. I get it. I understand it.
I'll take Ohio State with 6 wins and Notre Dame playing 10 games. They're just raw, talented players out there.
Yeah, it comes down to their coaching, and it comes down to their ability to scout players and recruiting. That's really what Alabama's all about, right? Is it comes down to recruiting half their guys. When's the last time Alabama had a quarterback that stuck around for 3 or 4 years?
They don't.
Right, and that's my point. Is these guys don't stick around very long. But in the Ohio State game, Trey Sermon. He has blasted on the scene in a big way to Fred's point over these last couple of weeks. He just couldn't be stopped in this game again, right? 31 carries, 193 yards, 6.2 yards per carry. One of those was a TD. He also had 4 receptions for 61 yards. So over his last 2 games, this kid has 60 carries for 524 yards, averaging 8.7 and 3 TDs. And that's Clemson and Northwestern.
Yeah, he's setting himself up at the right time. Yeah.
Payday.
The only thing I will say about this Clemson game, right, and we kind of alluded to this earlier, there was one big factor in this game that I said it in our chat. I think teams were watching to see how Trevor Lawrence adjusted, which he struggled. But he didn't have his offensive coordinator there. All of a sudden, your offensive coordinator that's helped you get to this point, has been making the play calls, all that, he's gone. He's not there. He's out due to COVID. How much of a role does your offensive coordinator and your true play caller not being there affect the outcome of this game? Do you think it affected that much, or do you think Ohio State's just that much better?
I think it affected it, but like I said it to you before too, it's like Clemson's defense didn't even come to play.
But is it more of a shootout with the play caller that you've had all year?
It probably could have been, more of a shootout.
I don't know. I'm spitballing. I'm guessing here. Alex says, I think the NCAA should have taken the Big Ten and not let Ohio State in, since it's a Big Ten wanted to act like a badass and all the conferences went the other way. But now that they're in the championship, I hope they take out Alabama. So it's a great statement there. Let's ask the question. Alabama is 7.5-point favorites in this game. Who do you got? Alabama or Ohio State?
Bama landslide.
Bama landslide. You have a score prediction?
I don't know. You put me on the spot.
I am.
Fucking landslide. That's all I know.
You're going to make a statement like landslide. You better have something that you're thinking.
Alabama's going to win 42-14. I think they're going to break their spirit right away. I think they're going to get to Justin Fields right away. I think sometimes you can see too, a lot of it's awesome what Justin Fields did in the moment,
right?
With the adrenaline, with the spot on the line. I mean, I haven't looked into it yet. I haven't really heard much about it, but has he stiffened up since Friday? They ain't playing until Monday. Is that a good thing that they ain't playing until Monday because it gives them time to rest? Or does it give it, you know what I mean?
Tightens up, yeah.
Tightens up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I hate Alabama. Spoiler alert, I hate everybody, both teams in it. I hated all three of the four teams because I'm okay with Clemson. I'm fine with Clemson. I kind of hope they kind of.
So wait, you're not like the media guy that doesn't like Trevor Lawrence's stash.
That was awkward hilarious. As hell. I hate. I don't know. I've hated the way a lot of the majority of the college playoff games have gone because I just don't like the teams that end up making, and it just seems like it's so tilted towards a few teams.
I feel like it's the NBA and it's the same teams every year.
We'll talk too long, but I think they need to talk about expanding a little bit.
I think they're talking about expanding it.
Something. Yeah. I don't want to go too far into it.
All right, so James, what's your prediction for this game then? Bama or Ohio?
If Ohio State plays like they did against Clemson, the last championship team last year, I think they can hang with them if they just play what they did this past week. I think they can. But at the end of the day, I think Alabama can win this game, but Ohio has no – I hope they win it. Everybody doubting them, saying they shouldn't be there, and everybody thinks, Nick Saban's the next – has like the mini NFL down there. I just hope that they can just hand it to him, and then Frank can be happy next week. So.
All right. So, what would you give a score?
Like 31-24, Ohio.
Okay. All right. Nick's saying Bama 42, Ohio State 31, Ohio 23, Alabama 15 from Ethan. Unfortunately, I think Bama they're just too good. I would say if I'm giving you a score, I think it's 41-28. I do think Ohio State's able to put up some numbers, but I don't think they can. They're not going to be. Ohio State's not going to be able to play 60 minutes with this Bama team.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen as far as I'm concerned. I think it's going to be, it's going to be over by the third quarter at the minimum.
And they might be the most restless team too. They didn't play a lot of games.
Ohio State?
Yeah.
That can go against you a little bit, too, with experience.
Well, they look like they showed up against Clemson.
I think they're, I didn't think about that. I think that's a great point. I mean, they are more well-rested. They played less games. You have less potential for the injuries, the soft tissue injuries during the game. Maybe you have a point there, James. I mean, maybe this is closer than a lot of people are thinking. Maybe it is that, 7.5, 10-point game that we see. I just don't. Bama's just been firing on all cylinders. Najee looks so good, and I think Smith is the other guy that he's going to play a huge factor in this game. If you can't limit Smith, game over. Game over if you can't limit him.
And I don't think they will.
And I don't think they will either. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, moving along. We talked about the hurdles. So the last thing we got to talk about is it's Can Central.
Black Monday.
So the first one we got to talk about, good old Adam Gase. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Waterboy!
Yes, Mr. Coach, for you.
You're fired!
That's pretty much all he was. He was just a water boy at this point.
I've been dying since you showed me those buttons to hit the buttons. That's all I want to do this whole night.
You can do the rest as we set up. How about that? Yeah. So obviously Sunday. They didn't even wait till Monday. They do it Sunday night during the game. They go, yeah, we're gonna just cut part with Adam Gase. Is anybody really even surprised by this?
I'm surprised he lasted that long. Like, why?
Why was this not done 3 weeks ago?
I think because I think at that. I mean, you get to that point of the season. Yeah, the players and the coaches on you're trying to win. I think that ownership probably was like, just come on, let's.
He's going to lose the next few games. We're just going to keep him there.
Lawrence, I don't care. They'll figure it out. Now it might not be Lawrence. It might be somebody else. Whatever. Your top 2 pick is going to be 2 quarterbacks. If not, the top 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks. But
yeah. All right. Next guy, Chargers Anthony Lynn. Hit it again. Go ahead.
Do it again. He's the best.
He's gone. Fired by the Chargers on Monday after 4 years. My question to you is this justified?
I think it's justified in the fact that how many of their games were single-digit game losses? Where it was just like, even if Herbert has been, I mean, Herbert was outstanding. I mean, he had a really great rookie year, rookie passing record, touchdown-wise.
It beat Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. If you didn't have Herbert, do you think they would win like 3 games?
I get where you're going with that, right? And so I was kind of looking at this, and that's the reason I said it 4 seasons, right? First 2 seasons, 2017, 2018, he was 9-7 and 12-4. Goes to the playoffs in 2018. 2019, 5-11. This year, he finishes 7-9. My question is did he really get a fair shake with what he's had to work with the past 2 years?
What's gone against him the last 2 years?
What weapons have they truly had?
Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler.
Henry.
Before he left, you had Melvin Gordon.
And who's throwing to him?
Justin Herbert?
A guy that he's not sold on, right? You had Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah,
well, then that proves that he should be gone. If he's not sold,
and
if he hasn't become sold on that quarterback at this point.
I'm just saying.
It was one of those weird. It was one of those weird things.
I guess my point is I don't know, with 2 winning seasons and 1 failure of a season in 2019. This year wasn't. They were 1 game under 500. Is that bad? Absolutely. We don't want those teams. Those teams shouldn't be going to the playoffs. But in a year that 2 other teams with almost the same record are in the playoffs, it's across the NFL. I just don't know that he got the fair shake on that.
But there's a lot of times where, okay, I give you that. But there's also a lot of decisions he made late in games that, forget what the player's not performing. There's a lot of decisions where he's look like he can't handle being a head coach.
But is he not doing it because the players aren't performing consistently?
Well, that whole team is a shit show anyways, up with the owners too. They're the next Al Davis. Like, they don't care about who they have or how long they've been there. When your time is up, we don't need you. They're cheap as can be. So it was expected. And I don't think Lynn was fine with Justin. I think he wanted Tyrod, and Tyrod got hurt, and Justin was overperforming Tyrod and needed to be done.
Well, I mean, Tyrod before getting hurt didn't look horrible, right? He was a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah.
I think that his issue with Herbert was that unproven rookie. He wasn't sure. I don't know if there was.
He belonged in the league. Some of them people said.
No, and I get that. But if it's been put in his head that we don't want this guy, and he says I don't want this guy, but I got to deal with him because it's who we've got, then fine. My whole point was I get why he's fired. I get everybody saying it's the judgment calls, the end of the game, just like you were chiming in saying. Alex is chiming in and saying the same thing. I get that. I'm just saying 4 seasons, and you have 2 winning seasons and 2 seasons where you struggled. This season was still an improvement over last season. You weren't expected to make the playoff. I don't know of anybody that was calling for the Chargers to be making the playoffs this year. There were so many question marks over there.
Because of coaching decisions sometimes, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's why.
Well, for a team that two years before that was 12-4?
Their defense was supposed to be like top 10. Their best safety or corner, he might be done for his career might be done.
Right,
James. I know that's such a shame.
There's a lot of and that's you're kind of
was in and out.
You're kind of proving my point, though. There's a lot of other factors that didn't have to deal with coaching decisions. I get it, but you deal with what you have, and sometimes it's saying I don't necessarily have the faith and trust in this person.
We'll find whoever they're hired. We'll find out why they changed because depending on who they sign.
Well, if you're like you said, there's enough that you can put that ownership on blast where the moving to LA and all that stuff. If you don't bring in someone that's gonna fully be supportive for Herbert, then what were you doing at all?
Yeah,
right.
Then that would prove back to what you're saying. Like I don't know. I mean, I haven't really thought about who they should get or what could click with Herbert, but like that's like what we were saying with just to say the Jaguars drafting Lawrence. You have to bring in coordinators and coaches that are on board with, all right, this is Lawrence, he's the guy. This is Herbert, this is the guy. If you're bringing in someone who's just okay, like Marvin Lewis, what are you really doing? Then that would go to your point for me. Why even move on from Lynn?
Thinking about going with Eric Bieniemy right
now. Bieniemy, yeah,
he's the hot number.
He's going to be a hot commodity. Eric Bieniemy
could go there than the Jets.
Eric Bieniemy could set his own market and have teams competing for him.
If he goes to the Chargers, that's the best for him because you're going to have Justin Herbert, which you can do amazing things with him. He could still scramble, and also you got Eckler, and the weapons in offense.
And you have some,
and you could make Henry, my 1-2 pick next year of Kelsey Henry next year in tight end mode. So I'm just saying, like, if it all works out, that's what you're gonna see next year.
What do you think, Vanna?
What did he just say?
He's taking Hunter Henry.
You're taking credit for Hunter Henry?
No, I'm saying like if Eric Bieniemy is their head coach,
he's taking Travis Kelce and then Hunter Henry.
Yeah,
I mean he did it before.
Yeah, I'm just saying it could make it.
Took George Kittle, and then took AJ Green.
We're
digressing.
All right.
We're digressing.
Back to the Can Central here.
Oh, next button.
Doug Marrone.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Like literally. Like you're just the weakest link. Like you had like, and granted, the guys kind of got themselves run out of town or whatever, but you were on like the cusp of the Super Bowl, and like now you're down here.
Yeah. Khan was like, "See you, dude. We're done with you. We're done with you."
Yeah.
Khan even came out and was like, we're moving on. We need to recognize somebody that's going to be able to lead this team to the next level and be able to compete. That's the crazy thing is the Jags. The Jags are so up and down over the past decade.
It was like, I think the last 10 years, it's 44 wins.
Something like that.
and you think how many wins they had in the AFC Championship the year?
Right, but that's the thing is that they either shit the bed for the year, or they have some competitive balance to them, and they seem to be doing well, and they're 8-8, 9-7. They're competing. But then the next year, it's like they're like, oh, well, we don't need to do anything. We don't need to improve. We don't need to do anything better. So
we'll just run everybody out of town.
Yeah, just run everybody out of town, and we'll call it a day.
The best part is when they hire their coach, they're gonna be like, "Hey, just want to let you know, we're gonna be hiring. We're gonna select what's his face, Trevor Lawrence, and just to let you know, you have to be fine with playing like 4 games in London. How you feel about that?"
That's COVID. I don't think it'll still happen.
No,
Could be a weird. I know what you're saying.
You
Yeah,
still got to
we'll
know, like, as a head coach, we're going to have 4 games in London, so be prepared.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get why the NFL is doing it, why he's the one wanting to do it, because they can't get people to Jags games anyway, so why not take the profit from the UK? I get it. He's a businessman. I get it.
Yeah.
But you got to look at the toll that's going to take on your players. I still think if you're going over to the UK, it should be a game like, you play on a Thursday, and then the following week, you're guaranteed a Monday night game.
Yeah, that London. Yeah, the whole London.
It's because it's different when it's not.
Sorry,
you're not traveling
you
across.
Play what you got to play. The NFL decided to make this decision, so like.
But they're making this decision because he's saying Khan is basically he's backing it because he gets more money when they go over to UK. Because he's getting a good portion of the profits.
Move the team then.
And that's my thought is if that's what he's willing to do to make the money to be able to support this team, then he needs to move the team. He needs to find some place to move it. I think there's got to be. Yeah, St. Louis would be another. They would be begging for a team. I'm sure. You could get away with a team. I don't know. You could probably get away with another team in Texas. You could probably get away with a team in Oklahoma. I think you could get away with a team with Oklahoma. Look how much they back OSU.
Yeah.
Right? They would back a team. It could happen. There's so many factors in it. I don't know, but I agree with you. If that's where his mindset is, it is time to move the team. But I get why he's saying that because he wants to make the money.
Or you can get a team in Virginia or something like, or North Carolina.
Yeah, but if you're at a point where like if it ain't Jacksonville or like you said England, I don't see it just going to another American city.
No, but if you're going to play 4 games in Europe.
Oh yeah, no, it's a fourth of your season.
No, but
it's a fourth of your season.
There could be some guy, free agents, that like I'm not coming there because I don't want to play 4 games over there.
Right, and that's where you lose
bad
people.
Product over there. I mean, for the Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, I'm not discounting anything that you're saying. I actually agree with you on this because I think it's a quarter of their season. I get why he's doing it from the business perspective, but it doesn't make sense for the NFL to continue to be doing this because you're going to lose that fan base that is there, and you're going to wind up creating an issue where the team's going to have to move, and it could happen within the next 5 years.
They don't have enough people going there that they have to tarp up the top of the stadium just to make it look presentable.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's time that they start considering it with the next 5 years. And I think a place like Oklahoma is a prime real estate for something like that to happen. I mean, I really don't. I can't think of any other state where you could say that and it be a valid place for them to go. I mean,
maybe Alabama,
Wyoming. I don't know Ethan Montoya.
I mean, if you're gonna put it, you could put it near a college town, a Wyoming, a Wisconsin, doing something along those lines. But again, it's not going to be this big name city. There's no big name city. Not that Jacksonville's that big of a name, but I mean, Jacksonville is a destination city in the South. So I get it, but your fan base is just not there.
Put in New Mexico.
There you go. I don't know where the hell you're going in New Mexico. Everything's 300 miles away from each other.
You got a football team.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning. All right.
Who's going?
Drew, since you're the guest, I'll give you the choice. You can either go first or I'll go first.
You go first.
Okay. I'll take it. You know you're going to get a lot of shit from Ryan for that, right?
Oh, I don't care. Ryan could have been in the seat and he pushed it to me, so I don't care.
There you go. All right. So, James, you've got the 2 questions for us this week. So, what do we got?
All right. So, at the end of the Bucs game this week, Tom Brady completed 3 shovel passes to Antonio Brown in the final 2 minutes that gave him 11 catches on the day and 45 on the season, earning him a $250,000 bonus. What are your thoughts on this tandem and what they could have done had Brown been with the Pats from the start of his career?
So I think it really, what we've seen, the connection in that one game that we saw with him and the Pats, and what we've seen so far with him and the Bucs, I really think there is a chemistry there. I think that if he would have been with the Pats from the get-go, I don't know that some of the mental, acuities would have happened because I think Belichick is that refined. I think he could have done even better than what he is.
I think he would have done the exact same thing he did in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Everyone likes to think that a coaching staff or whatever can rein a player in and keep their inabilities in check or their mental states. And the way that guy went off the rails, I don't think anybody would have kept it in check. They've done great together. It's been interesting to see happen. So I'm not surprised by what they did, but I think his career would have been the exact same.
All right. What's the next one, James?
And the second one is, should the NFL investigate Doug Peterson for tampering with competitive balance after a shit show that was Sunday Night Football this week?
Yeah, that was a complete shit show.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them doing anything about it. And what's the precedent for it? You've never seen anything. I mean, and that comes from the top down. I just don't like, not necessarily that you did it if they put you in prime time because they figured the vision's on the line and you do that. Like, it wasn't in question.
Well, and that's the thing is when you have a guy that, Jalen Hurts, who you're looking to see, he's done well over the past few, but now it's time. It's crunch time. It's a close game. If it's a blowout, there's no question about this. We're not arguing this. The fact is this was a close game, and you pull out the guy that got the points on the board and really helped you be in a position over the past 2 weeks to actually be in the spot for a playoff spot. Right? And you're fighting for it, or not playoff spot, but the chance to go towards the playoffs. It just didn't make sense. I do think the NFL should investigate, and I think if he's found of like, I'm going to pull him out, if there's some type of conversation, this could be an unprecedented fine if it were to happen. I don't think it will.
We'll see if something happens. They might not want to make waves during the playoffs, but we'll see.
I mean, well, yeah, they won't make them during. It'll be after the Super Bowl for sure. All right, I'm going to get us out of here for the evening. I got to say thank you, Drew, for filling in.
Thanks for having me. I was a little bit nervous.
You were definitely nervous, but you were into it. You did a great job. You're over here. First time in the big boy seat. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did enjoy it a lot.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. You enjoyed it. James over there in the producer seat. I threw some new things at you this week. You did great with them, so appreciate it from you, buddy.
And just want to say, 2-minute warning actually worked compared to Ryan the last.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Ryan. He's going to complain to us because we didn't give him a warning on that. So,
it's definitely going to
anyways, we appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week. Make sure you check out our website, www.birdlandbs.com. While you're there, you can check out all of our episodes. Get yourself some Birdland BS gear, which we tried talking this guy into wearing. Oh, he's got it on! Look at that!
I was going to wear it, but I could not wear it. I said I was wearing the 27. I was wearing the 27.
All right, so go get your gear like Drew did. Make sure that you visit us on the website. Check it out, birdlandsports.com, and the Big Play app, the Big Play Twitter page. Make sure you check us out on those as well. We're affiliates of theirs. And then also make sure you check us out on our social media pages. At Birdland BS is how you find us on everything. Just search at Birdland BS. You'll find us, not a problem. Look for this logo or the logo that's, I guess, technically right here. Make sure you leave us comments. Give us your questions. Make sure you also, if you want to be heard on the show, the best thing to do, email us or shoot us those messages. We try to get to them. Make sure you also check out the audio version of the podcast. Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts, we're there. For Drew, James, myself, Terps BS Bert, and Brian, who aren't here, and Fred, buddy, we're thinking about you and your family. We love you, buddy. And we'll see you all next week.
Oh yeah. It's time for that last call for alcohol.
It's the after hours and the last call for that alcohol.
Hey, real quick, Adam Lee, and this makes sense too because I think I would love it to be there, but maybe Toronto for the Jaguars.
Oh yeah, see for the Jags, yeah,
I
see that now.
Go up to Toronto, catch a game, and apparently I think they announced the schedule. I think the Ravens are going to play the Raiders, and it'd be nice if COVID's over to maybe go out to Vegas, check out that new stadium.
I do want to get out to Vegas. I do want to get out there because I think that stadium it does look amazing.
Yeah, we were supposed to go in May, and it was pretty bummed out just because I figured it was like it'd be cool. We were literally wherever we were staying near the stadium. It would have been cool to be like near that stadium to see it.
Mainland Bay. Was it Mainland
I can't remember. No, that the
New
damn
York,
castle one.
Oh, Excalibur.
Yeah, Excalibur.
It might be gone in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
I love Vegas. I never had a bad week in Vegas. Never.
Yeah, we were supposed to go with Ryan and Kaylee and Fred, and we were supposed to go, but then COVID happened.
COVID hits and you can't go.
Yeah.
So I think.
Oh, Ryan's in.
Yeah, Ryan says he's in.
Well, yeah.
He says, "Great job, Drew. A star is born."
Yeah, he pushed me into that role.
So is that you? Are you Lady Gaga?
That's fine. I'll take that role. That's fine. She's creative enough. It'd be all right to be compared to her, I guess. I don't know.
So,
I had fun. No, I had fun though.
So does that make me the drunk country singer?
Yes. Just don't beat me up. Not like that.
I'm on the deep end.
Yeah, right. I'm not singing. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
not happening. Not happening.
I'm not.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this was great. This was fun.
It was a fun show. It was a fun show. Again, for those of you joining us during the after hours, and you heard me talk about at the end. Fred had a passing in his family, so our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. He actually joined us. If you didn't catch it, go back, rewind. He called in right as we were talking about this matchup going into next week with the Titans. He's been excited. He pulled over. He's in his car. He pulled over on the side of the road, and luckily he called in because you had to pee, buddy.
Yeah, I don't appreciate that. I heard.
You guys, Ryan posted.
I was halfway through and I'm like, oh, they did not just do that shit. I'm like, I should just got up and walked off abruptly and we were going to talk about it. Yes, that was my biggest fear. Pull back the curtain a little bit.
Fergie wets himself on stage.
Hey, I didn't wet myself in the process.
That's the best thing about you. Have to, and I know you.
No, I love it. That's
you've
funny.
learned it. Is this the best thing? Honestly, so inside information for our fans, like. We truly are a family here. We rag on each other all the time, but it's out of love, right? We have a good time with each other. Drew, you've coming on.
Yeah, I tiptoed the waters a little bit. I didn't know how to do it, and then someone wanted to debate me on the 1919 White Sox, and I figured then that's when I was in.
You're
like
wrong.
Flint.
It's the Black Sox.
It's whatever. I'm not.
I haven't been drinking.
I'm not doing it
at home.
But like that when that little exchange happened, that's when I knew I was in the group. That's when I knew I was in.
It's fun. Like we have a good time. But yeah, don't. This guy, no joke. You've been here for a few shows, and there's been a few shows where Fred and I go, "Where the hell is he going? Go to the bathroom again?"
I swear to God,
you need to stop drinking energy drinks before you come over here.
No, I don't. I will make fun of myself at this point. I don't know what. I don't. There's not a lot of times where I've been, and I don't even drink that much. It has nothing to do with it. It seems like I'm like stage fright or something. Even though I could be over in the corner and I'm not even on the computer on video. It's like something just. I was. It happened at home. When we were doing I was like.
You were also drinking a little heavier when
I drank a lot more heavier then.
When you were in your glow room.
It might have been. It might have been the energy drink tonight. I needed it. I was
somehow he's turned from Oompa Loompa into a regular person overnight.
It's amazing.
It's a
some
nervous
lighting.
bladder, as Ryan
some
says.
white lights do to someone's face.
Ryan says nervous bladder is.
I probably. And I did. I texted them and I said I knew this shit's gonna happen. This is.
Hey, it only happened once.
It only happened once. It only happened once because normally it's like twice. 3 times.
Hey, it's better that than just sitting there thinking everything's okay and you get the little bubblies.
Like Fred did that once. Trust me.
2 minutes before we're about to go on.
So, info for you. Like, there have been times in the after hours I've looked at Fred and gone, I gotta go. Like you put it on him, I gotta go to the bathroom. And then there was a time where Fred did the same thing. So we have all had it, but it was more just out of necessity.
And the best part is like when it's not been obviously me in this chair, like and I've been over there, or when you guys start talking skeleton, I'm like, all right, that's when I'm going to take a piss. I'm out. You guys, I don't have nothing to add at that point. I can go take my bathroom break now. I mean, that might work. That might work. Put it on there.
Catherine. Oh my goodness! Gotta love the after hours segment.
You know, I was a little bit. I was a little bit
small.
That's not
obviously.
See why? I gotta go there. I made twins too. God damn it. Well, the lab did. Anyway, no, that was that was thanks for the time. This was pretty. I mean, obviously it's in light of bad news. Yeah, we've said it enough.
Hate this scenario, but it was a little bit. Couple hours before showtime, I'm like, is this really gonna happen? Like, I felt like I would get on here and be like Ricky Bobby, I don't know what to do. What do I do with my hands?
I'm doing my voice. So I think like we were about to go on and we hadn't really talked about it. I'm like, hey, are you taking the lead? Because I don't know if I can do this shit.
Yeah, no, I got it. Anytime.
And it was great. No, this was a blast though.
Yeah, it has
been
fun.
A blast. Even when I was sitting in the corner, or when we've done the StreamYard stuff, it's been a blast. It's been nice to have a 2.5, 3 hour break from normal life and talk sports with you guys.
I tell them all the time, this is like my get out of the world of this COVID and just relax and unwind with my friends and just talk shit that we love.
Yeah, and that's why we do it, and we've said it before. It's why we love doing this. And I know somebody had asked earlier about the fan line. I think it was Nick that asked in, or Steve. I think it was Steve Severs that asked us before. But we will get back to that fan line, probably more so in the after hours. It's a little harder, especially honestly. You guys know when it's 6 of us in here. It's tough trying to make sure everybody gets heard and heard during different segments, things like that. We wind up going these long shows, but they're fun, right? And that's what we love doing. We try to have an outline, some basic things that we want to talk about, but sometimes the conversation just takes us a different way, and we like to go with the flow because it's good conversation.
And that brings up the point, like you said, like if we got a topic that you want to talk about, just shoot an email.
Yeah,
and we'll bring it up and say this is from email that we got.
Where I will tell you, these guys can tell you they have been put on the spot literally mid-show going, hey, we need a 2-minute warning.
Oh
questions.
God, that is my biggest it's my biggest fucking fear. I was so like, and of all times, like granted I ended up being in the seat during the day, like I didn't have really a rough day at work, or I had a lot of time. I was coming up with questions and you guys already got them, like never mind. Nothing I really had to say would have made any sense anyway.
The best is, Drew, is like you get here and like I had the app on my phone so I can see what the outline is. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to use this. I look at it. Fred and Scott have like a rundown, like 30 pages long. I'm like,
I had 5 questions. They were all on the rundown list. I don't know what to do. That's happened before too, where I can't remember. There was one where I was like, hey, what about this? And they go, oh, we're talking about it in the rundown. Here, let's print that out for you. I'm like, well, then why God damn it.
Yeah, no.
You put me on the spot. Come up with something else.
We are always looking for stuff to talk about. So, I mean, this is the after hour segment is a good place to bring it up. But we will be bringing back at some point here in the next few weeks. We'll be bringing back the phone line, and having fans on, and then kind of, being able to do that. And
it'll be great because a lot of people should be home.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, really, the after hours is kind of like, say I shined, but that's kind of where I started starting our banter back and forth with everybody, because at that point I was just like throwing a lot of dumb shit out there.
Yeah, well, and it's easier. So let's be honest, right? Anybody that's out there, I know we have several people still watching, right? Ryan's comments are the only ones coming through right now, but that's where we engage a lot more in the after hours, because
you've gotten Ryan and me to join them.
Right, exactly. We've been having fun with it. We continue to bring people in, but we try to make sure that you guys are engaged and know what's going on, and we appreciate everything that you guys do each week and tuning in. A lot of you guys are regulars and you watch us religiously and question what happens when we're not here. So, we appreciate that. James, I feel like you started that train. Like, question, why aren't you having a show this week? And we're like, we had something happen, and okay, maybe we need to figure out how to have a show even if something happens.
Look, now we're starting to add new talent to the
to the repertoire. Yeah, so when something happens, we can still have a show. Look at that. Someday it's going to be you and Ryan and James or Brian over there.
We're probably aren't going to let them talk.
Are you sure Ryan's going to let you talk?
I'm surprised Ryan gave me the helm tonight.
Scott, it'd be like this. James, put it on me at all times.
But see, he's doing this again. WCW died years ago. If you're going to fucking do the joke, like, say TNA. Say, yeah.
AEW.
AEW. I wanted to make so many AEW comments during your guys' the con in Jacksonville talk. Look, just funnel all that money into AEW. I don't give a shit what you do with your football team.
Right, yeah. Oh, man. So, all right, guys. Not a whole lot of comments coming in, so we're going to go ahead and get out of here for the evening.
Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan's like the only one right now. 9 of you guys watching. I don't know where you're watching at as of right now, but you're watching.
How far? Like, I remember we were how up? How was our high count on the night?
I
don't know. Because we got pretty high when we started.
It was 60 something. I thought I swore I saw 80 something at one point.
Well, if it was 80, you're welcome.
Yeah.
But real quick, if anybody hasn't watched it or start watching Cobra Kai's.
Yeah, I got.
I caught up on this.
I've heard so many people talking. I can't.
At first, I'll be honest. At first, I was not sold the first 3 episodes, and then I started going, okay, they're developing the storyline, and it's not a mimic, because that's what I was worried about, is they were going to mimic that, or it was going to be this completely they've done a great job at continuing the story.
Cast and everything. It's awesome, dude. I love it.
Yeah, no, it has been great. So
I got to do that. I've heard so many people talk about it.
It's good.
Yeah. Have you seen The Queen's Gambit?
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not a big binge watcher.
See, I like to binge watch when I know. Well, except Cobra Kai is like, let's say the season's over, they're not gonna make it more. Like, I binge watched Breaking Bad. Like, I spent 5 days watching all of it.
So I'm a bit of a nerd. Queen's Gambit is about chess, but it's also
I know the. I know the basis. I've seen a lot of trailers and stuff.
I was like, at first, my wife and I were like, this is kind of odd, and then we were glued. And it's a limited series, so it's done.
Yeah.
So you can binge watch it, but it was good. We really liked it. We enjoyed it. And
I'm watching too much WCW to.
And another thing with me is I can't stand it starts in the fall and then I gotta wait all the way to the next fall and then I have to watch it again just
to catch yourself up
to remember what's happened.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I did now is Ozark was another good one that I watched.
That's the one I wish I would have watched too.
But it took me two tries to enjoy it, because the first time I watched it, I started watching it, I fell asleep. I thought it was awful, and then one day I think it was like a rainstorm or whatever. I popped it on and fell in love with it.
Yeah,
that's my thing with shows. It's so hard. During a weekday, any given weekday, and I wasn't really much of a binge watcher before the kids, but I got 4-year-old twins. I'm not. I don't really have free time until 8:45, if that's if it's easy, And at that point, it's like.
You're about to knock out.
I'll put on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives for a couple hours. I'm good to go. I just don't. You know what I mean? It's like if I fall asleep, I fall asleep. You fall asleep watching a Netflix show, you might have missed 2 or 3 episodes because it kept playing until it stops.
Well, you can change that.
Yeah, it is. There's a setting on it. You can do it. So, all right, guys. Appreciate both of you guys filling in and being here.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you guys next week.